like especially in my industry, like you learn real quick, like some technology, even though it's a different brand, can speak to each other fluently, no problem. It like automatically does that.
Yeah.
But other technologies can't make that handshake. They can't like figure out how to communicate with one another. So then you have to go in and actually configure different things. I mean, I don't know enough about it. I'd say some stupid shit. Oh, you have to go in and configure code and this and that. And it's like probably not that serious, but at the same time, you have to make adjustments. I mean, you know, it's crazy. Like just from my industry standpoint, like, if you're doing just a simple audio setup with one mic, and I'm going into my mixer, and then I'm going into the wall. Well, if I plug into the wall and I go into the mic setting, but the mixer set to line setting, you're gonna have all kinds of feedback and bad sounds. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it can be great. Let me see if artificial light. I don't think it makes me any prettier.
No, you look beautiful.
Thanks, man.
You look beautiful, bitch. This is just
they're eventually going to probably close all the beaches here to keep people up on the social distancing thing.
Dude, so like I was saying, I got a job at Secrets, and last Friday I woke up and I had like a little bit of a sore throat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, personally, I was like, I don't care, I'm 29, I'm healthy, but I was like, I can't be fucking with like I mean, there's thousands of people there on like any given Friday. And people of all walks of life. It's honestly, it's mostly old people that just have money. And so I called in. I was like, hey, so I'm not feeling too well, but like I could definitely come in and work. And he cut me off and he goes, don't come in. And I was like,
yeah, exactly.
I was like, all right. But yeah, apparently my parents just went to the grocery store and they came back, and I slept in. And I didn't go to the gym this morning. And they're like, oh, you didn't go to the gym because it was closed? And I was like, no, I just slept in. But apparently they're like, yeah, no, there's nothing there. It's shut down. So it's like
the world we're in right now, you know, it's crazy because we've never experienced anything like this before.
No one has.
Here's the thing I was talking about with people. Like, there's good and there's bad with this. So as in life, like what I do with just about everything, or try to do with everything, is just take it as it is. Like I said before to you last time we spoke, like I've changed my perspective on a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Like nowadays, I used to think life was like a stream, man, like a river. And you can never change the river's current. You know, it's going to go against you if you're fighting it, or you could just let it like wash you away. Essentially, though, like now I see life as like a waterfall. Like I'm just going to let it. I don't care if it's rushing over me. I'm just going to enjoy it, you know, and take it and do what I can to be positive with others, you know.
Yeah,
because it's been a screwy time, man. Like I got sick last Tuesday, and I woke up and I was like, oh, geez, please, Lord, please. Don't I was like, I don't even remember this shit, but let me just try it out. Maybe he's listening.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, one of those things where obviously you get sick with anything at this point in time. I mean, with little knowledge or little information, it's easy to freak out. But that's how people have been freaking out for millions of years since the dawn of man, is not gathering proper information. So obviously in the moment, I thought I was trying to be funny. Like, that's not really how I reacted, but in a way it is. And then I did a little research and realized, like, this is totally different. I go to my doctor. He says, let me show you your chart. Every year, same time, you get this exact same thing. Stop panicking. Like, don't panic, you should say. Because I was a little worried. But, you know, I work at a hotel, man. So
yeah, that's the thing.
You never know who's going to be at the hotel, who's been at the hotel, what you're touching and someone else is touching. And so I got fortunate last week because they canceled. I shouldn't say last week, I guess week before last, because last week was technically TPC, or going to be. Week before last is when I got sick Tuesday, and they canceled the events that I was supposed to be in. And I thought, oh, fuck, it's okay, though. I needed this time off. Nobody wants to be around a sick person anyways. Mm-hmm. But I knew, like, TPC week, I can't call out. Like, it's one of those times where, like, all hands on deck. And the fortunate thing was I had been on antibiotics. I'd been on a steroid pack. Mm-hmm. I started to feel better, so I got to work. And then, you know, we did business as usual. I did point out on Wednesday of last week when we did the PGA Marketing Forum, which we do every year. It's where they bring their partners in. They discuss their marketing strategy for the next year in the PGA. And so I'm kind of losing you a bit. But we did business as usual. But I noticed, like, from last year to this year, there were about 2/3 of the attendees, like, versus where we had a full house. And I kind of knew, I felt something was up. I was like, this is weird. I was like, it's weird for these partners who are guaranteed like a free stay at this beautiful resort, you know, wonderful golf tournament where you get to party for free. Like, everybody's partying, having a good time, and they're not showing up. Kind of worries me, you know. And then sure enough, Wednesday evening, that's when they said March Madness would be played behind closed doors, and then they go and say it's canceled. I wasn't worried about this stuff, and I'm still like looking at the numbers, not crazy worried about coronavirus, because it's basically like I'm a video gamer, dude. I felt like Hulk in Endgame. This is what I was made for.
It's like I was born for this.
Yeah, it's like I was born for this, man.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean I got to stay in my house and
Dude,
stay away from social distancing? That sounds like I've been waiting for this since my late 20s.
Dude, up until now, I've just called that depression, but now...
Yeah, exactly. Now I'm like, I actually just get to do this now.
Like I'm teaching the people the way of Tom. I'm like, let me walk you through this valley of death. It may be unfamiliar to you, but to me, this is just Monday through Sunday.
This is a normal day for me, man.
Yeah.
Like but now I have an excuse to be like, hey, remember those plans we made a month ago? We can't. And I'm like, secretly, I'm like, yeah, like.
Introverts unite. Yeah.
It's whatever. It's funny because like Call of Duty just dropped this new free to play like Warzone. It's Battle Royale.
Yeah.
So I'm sure people are like, oh no, I got to stay home from work.
Yeah.
The problem though is like lost wages, obviously, because now you suspend nightclubs, bars for 30 days, restaurants, being able to serve people, things like that. So on top of the hospitality live industry, live event industry that I'm in, now the service industry takes a huge hit. So now you wonder, like, can these businesses still pay their rent? You know, the government's obviously taking action to try to prevent people from really suffering to that extent. Like, look at them. They waived interest on student loans. I know a lot of people are going to be able to. Yeah. On I think it was Friday, you know, they announced we're waiving all interest on student loans. So for a huge chunk of the population, that's a huge benefit.
Yeah.
But then again, if you don't have the means to make money, you know, like
doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter, but at the same time, every bit helps. I had a friend noticed the twin sister of a state rep in Florida tweeted out she was offering $20 to each person in the service industry that's in need of just $20 and like hospitality. So I Venmo requested just to see, is this legit? Like, hey, you know, like I'm in the service industry. 2 minutes later, $20 deposited in my Venmo account. I'm like, that's pretty nice. And people are donating to her in order to do this.
That's cool.
It's very cool, but it's cool to see people come together because, like I said, there's going to be a lot of bad, but there's also going to be good. Like humanity, we don't face these kind of challenges every so often. You know, we're too busy trying to kill each other and take each other. But now it's like an unseen, unknown, uncommon enemy. So if we don't unite and, you know, not only in science in terms of like trying to discover some kind of vaccine or some kind of cure, then, you know, well, why can't we unite at this level where you know, I haven't been one of these people to go crazy over the toilet paper, but yesterday it hit me. It's like, okay, it's been a week of like no toilet paper in stores. I went on Amazon. I ordered these, like, it's a pack of 6. It's like the jumbo 2,000 foot rolls. And I'm like, just to have, because like, we have probably 20 something rolls in the house. Like, okay, my wife won't let me say this. We go shit a lot. So, you know, it's like, we need toilet paper. There's no doubt about that. I noticed people yesterday at the store buying paper towels the same way they were buying toilet paper last week. I was like, oh, so this is it this week. Like, it's going to be a new thing every week. And people are freaking out like, oh, I need this, I need that. And it's like, that's the problem with the individualistic society that we've developed over the last several years. And part of me always joked about it starting with like the iPhone, you know, like what's the first letter? Me. And so for all of human history, essentially, we've been community-driven animals. The moment we started gaining success as a species was the moment we learned how to hunt together, how to communicate, how to essentially just work together in all facets of life and take care of each other through community. We've strayed away from that, you know, like
I'm turning my fan on. Keep talking.
You're good. People, you know, nowadays you're wrapped up in your own business, you know, and it's, you don't no community, in my opinion, like, especially in these suburbia across America, you know, it's like, I don't even know my neighborhood to my left or my right. Well, 50, 60 years ago, you would have known everybody on your street. You know, 25 years ago, all the kids in the neighborhood would have known each other and played together. And that might still be the case with kids, but kids are different in terms of, like, you know, they don't have that ego quite developed yet. So we'll see. Maybe this will bring us back to more of a community-driven society. But I got these rolls of toilet paper, and I'm on that Nextdoor app. We have Nextdoor here in my community where we can all be a community, but like on a digital platform. So it's like, I still don't know you. I don't know your face. It's different when you shake someone's hand or when you get the face interaction versus online, you know? So I'm like, I want to let like all these elderly people that I might live near me, like, know, like, hey, if you need some toilet paper, like this is 12,000 feet of toilet paper. My wife and I don't need this much. We have 2 bathrooms in our house. One of these rolls will last us a couple of months.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, I think this is a time where people should be trying to help each other. But instead I see these posts online that make me think like some people are like already premeditating how if we go into an apocalypse, they're going to murder and pillage and take shit from others. And it's a sad thing, man.
Dude,
like,
it's weird. Yeah.
Emphasizes one of my favorite movies of all time, without a doubt, probably my favorite movie featuring a comic book hero, The Dark Knight. All that's happening right now, especially in American society, with the way people are ransacking stores, not considering the next man, it's the Joker, man.
When the chips are down, they'll eat each other. I was thinking of that yesterday. They're making the Joker sound like a reasonable human being because the predictions. I wouldn't say reasonable. I would just say honest.
Yeah.
It's still not good. It's still like it's not good that we're going to eat each other, but it's honest.
But it's also like making the most insane villain of our time appear to have rational thoughts and beliefs.
At least have an accurate grasp on like the human condition. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we are for animals, you know. So
I think we gotta. But I think that can be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I think if we champion that and say this psychopath is speaking truth, then I think we're going to make that our collective truth. I think it's, you know, I do think that the way to look at this is to go, what good can come out of this? Because like, and people are probably going to, you know, they're going to roll their eyes when they hear that. What do you mean what good can come out of it? We're quarantined. We can't do like. The thing is like whether or not you look at the upside or the downside, like what is here is still here. All right, there is a virus outbreak. The economy is stagnating, going to a recession. Shit is hitting the fan. That doesn't change regardless if you look at it positively or negatively. So it cannot. There is no purpose in looking at it negatively because it's still going to be the same. So you might as well look at it and go, what are we going to benefit from? Okay, we're going to learn. At the very least, we're gonna appreciate just how life was like 30 months ago. Like, doesn't it already seem weird?
New skills that could help you in these scenarios.
But doesn't it already seem weird? Like, just life like a month ago. Like, I now think about just like going out and going to the store.
Memory.
Yeah, it seems it's like, oh yeah, you never thought twice about it. But like,
no NBA. Well, here's the big one. Like, and this was my biggest fear starting last week. Not to cut you off, but it's like with sports.
I don't give a shit. You cut me off. I don't give a fuck. I cut everyone off.
Realistically, it's like, dude, in history, like throughout history, when certain things are taken away from society, like our forms of entertainment, like Regal Cinema just announced they're closing down all their theaters for for suspending all operations. Sports are over. So like the problem is what humans, like going back to that animalistic behavior, is unfortunately when we get into these situations, crime tends to go up. There's certain things that tend to go up that are not good for us or a good reflection of society, but it's a part of our condition, bread and circus, like in ancient Rome. The way they kept people in check for, hundreds of years were by putting on chariot races, gladiatorial combat, handing out loaves of bread and things like that to keep people. But it's like, but are they really... What are they really giving you? It's really a distraction to keep you busy from worrying about like what you could potentially
the digital opiate.
It's pretty crazy, man.
I think it's good though. I saw a post yesterday on Reddit on r Jocko Willink, and someone was like, embrace what's happening, like make rapid evolution. Like you can't go out, you can't do this, like. Use this as like a starting point to the rest of your life. Take this and go, if I can take this and I can accept this situation and go, how am I going to respond to this? Right. I've got other shit running. I'm going to turn it off so the connection gets better. Keep talking, Steve.
Yeah. Do you think the majority of people think that way though, that they're going to take advantage of this time to like better themselves? I mean,
doesn't matter. You can't control other people.
Yeah, my big thing with society is that I've already noticed this, like so many people stepping out to post how bored they are. And I'm like, one of my favorite quotes from Westworld season 1 was Anthony Hopkins. And he says, my father used to tell me only boring people get bored.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those things where I've said that to people before and they look like I just slapped their mother or something. You know what I mean? And I'm like, look, I might be inferring that you might be a boring person, but at the same time, like that should just be your wake up call. Like there's so many opportunities out here. Open a book, just like learn something new. I mean, I've already got a plan in place for myself. Now, how well I follow that in these early days, who knows? Really, I've started this exercise routine. And I'm only doing like 3/4 of it right now because this foot injury, man, it's still like here and there. Like I woke up today and I had pain and now I have no pain. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be pushing it too hard, but I saw this months ago and I don't watch the anime, but I've heard it's amazing. It's one called One Punch Man.
I've heard of that already.
He's like an OP hero who like literally could beat up anybody with one punch. Like, and I want to check it out because I heard it's an amazing show, but the One Punch Man challenge, whereas like for months and months and months, I was really just doing push-ups and running when I can. The One Punch Man challenge is 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 crunches a day, plus it's supposed to be 10 kilometers. No fucking way I'm running 10 kilometers. It's like 6 miles.
I run 10 meters, dude. Fuck that.
I'm like, but I'll run a mile a day. I'll eventually work my way up to running a mile a day. So today, I've done the 100 push-ups, I've done the 100 squats, I've done the 100 crunches right when I get up. I'm like, that's my first challenge of the day for myself. Eventually, I don't know if it's going to last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, because now they're postponing like international events like the Euros 2020, which is a soccer tournament. It was going to be the first time ever held in multiple countries, or not multiple countries, but like more than 2 or 3 countries, I should say, because like I forget where it was in 2016, but like maybe it was 2012, Ukraine and Russia like hosted games or something like that. But this year it was supposed to be in like Paris, Rome, London, Barcelona, Madrid, all these major cities. They were going to host it. So now they're saying, no, we're going to postpone it to 2021. So that's probably a good idea, but that starts to get me thinking like, is it that bad that we're going to just say, we can't do 30, 60, 90 day postponos, that we're just going to say a year?
Just clear 2020?
Yeah, just clear 2020 because
doesn't
the next
seem like a terrible idea.
Man.
Because if you start delaying everything, you're gonna almost like a traffic jam. You're gonna cause rippling delays. You're gonna cause rippling delays for years. If you push every season back 3 months.
Oh yeah, now you've got these crossovers on television broadcasting issues. You've got now. Granted, we live in an age where like digital has become a major platform competing, if not like overwhelming, the basic digital cable services that people tended to have forever, for the last, ever since we went digital. What was it, like 10 years ago? You couldn't really just go from the wall into your TV anymore. You had to have some kind of digital box or server to kind of carry all that information for you. You still plug that into the wall, sure, or just into your your router, modem, whatever it is. So now something like ESPN Plus could be huge when all these sports come back, because let's put it this way, NBA is not going to air their typical Sunday lineup of games or Saturday lineup of games if college football and NFL are on those days. Yeah. Which is not something we typically have to worry about, because for the early parts of the NBA season, from October to January, they'll do Sunday games here and there and stuff, but only like 1 or 2. Once NFL ends, they're going full-fledged like 5, 6, 7 broadcasted games every Saturday, Sunday. Now you've got the mega billionaires on this ownership block competing against the mega billionaires on this ownership block, and how long are they going to let that happen? Because now I'm hearing NBA, if it is able to come back in June, we'll just pick up where it left. But that would mean NBA playoffs would be going on in August and September. Now you're competing with the NFL, college football. You're going to cause all kinds of issues.
What if all the seasons what if they're just permanently
stacked?
What if they're just permanently shifted now? We just have the World Series over Christmas. We have
the only one that I think that it would work
Super Bowl in May.
The only one that I think that
it'd all be cool, man. Fuck it, switch it up.
MLS because we're so far behind on
You said MLS and it froze. You said MLS and
MLS.
Yeah. What?
MLS, we're so far different than the rest of the world. Like the rest of the world plays soccer on a fall spring schedule, and we play soccer on a summer, like playoffs in the fall schedule. So like the only way for the USA to really ever compete, in my opinion, on an international level in soccer would be for our domestic league to change and flow with the rest. But how can MLS ever compete with something like NFL? It's not going to here, and it's not like, I mean, Mexicans and Canadians do tune into MLS because a lot of Mexican players play here, and Canada actually has an MLS team. Actually, they have two, Toronto and Montreal. So, we do get viewers from them, but let's put it this way. If NHL is on and MLS is on, I don't think Canadians are turning into MLS. Sure, they're just like any country. Like England, for example, people always think soccer is the king of England, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, it is, without a doubt. But I've met a lot of English people who hate soccer. They'd rather watch rugby. They'd rather watch boxing. And if they could, which they only have, limited viewing opportunities in terms of live events, they'd rather watch NFL. It is the dominant sport.
Because NFL is the best. Once you watch it, you can't stop watching.
I don't even like it like that anymore, man.
I don't even like sports, but dude, there's nothing like watching just fucking animals.
There's nothing like watching a 60-minute sporting event take place over 6 hours of 5 hours of advertising and BS, 30-minute halftimes where we listen to the same old kooky people talk about the sport. And I'm like, NFL for me, I think it was like dwindling over the last decade, and then the Falcons, like, that Super Bowl, it just totally like I was like to me, like,
what if Tom Brady goes to the Falcons?
That wouldn't happen. I'd
like to see it.
Tom Brady's without a doubt, and I didn't want to admit this before that Super Bowl, but I have to now. He's without a doubt the best quarterback that ever played in the NFL.
He is. There's no competition. There's no competition.
The most winning quarterback. Well, I mean, I'd say a guy like Joe Montana, his record does hold up well against Tom Brady. He never lost a Super Bowl.
Okay, but then just winning, just total 9 appearances. Fuck out of here. No one's ever going to do that again.
No. What is his record there? 6-3 or 7-2?
So sorry, 6-3.
6-3. Okay, yeah. So 6-3. Amazing. But there's still a reason we put like Jordan over Kobe. You know what I mean? Like, or Jordan over LeBron. It's like, because it really matters about winning. But the main difference between NBA, obviously, and NFL is a total team sport. Like, yes, NBA is as well. But
you can't have a one-man team.
One player out of 5 can make the world a difference, whereas 1 out of 20. I mean, you could even say,
look at Brady last year without offensive weapons around him. Last year, he was struggling the whole time.
Look what happened.
Their defense was their offense.
Yeah, exactly. And it's crazy because they have all these weapons, and I just think I think it's smart for him. It's time for a change. But there's no doubt.
I hope he's earned it, man. I would love to see him on the Pats forever. I'd love to see him play till he's 70.
Sure.
But you know what? He's deserved it.
Peyton Manning, and he goes and has like one half a good season, and then looks like shit for the next year and a half after that. How does that affect his legacy?
I hope he goes somewhere and just gets paper for like 2 years. I hope he gets like $100 million because he's taken a cut with the Patriots for the last 20 years.
I have a friend who said today, he was like, final note on Tom Brady. He lives down here. He's a diehard New Englander. He said, the funniest thing about all this is now one of these fan bases that has hated Tom Brady for the last 20 years is now going to revere him as like the man, as the GOAT, as the best, because he's going to play for them. And I'm like, yes, until perhaps he comes in and has lost his, can't perform. Yeah, it sucks. Then these people will hate him twice as much as they did, because not only did they hate him winning so much with the Patriots, but they'll hate him and blame him for losing for their team. And it's like, if he had stayed in New England, my whole thing is like, stay in New England, you're untouchable. I'm impressed. I respect him more for taking on this kind of challenge.
You leave the NFL as a god. First. Yeah, I would love. Honestly, I would love to see him win a Super Bowl with someone else. I would love to see that for him, just to be like, I didn't need the Patriots.
Go to a team that already was in like the NFC or AFC championship. Granted, like Baltimore, Kansas City already has quarterbacks. no big deal. But what if and LA Rams aren't going to pick him up? They have Jared Goff, but
the Chiefs or something.
Yeah, exactly. What if you were to go to a team like that? Obviously not the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes.
I think that'd be cool. I'd love to see him win with someone else just for himself. So he could be like, I'm not defined by the Patriots.
But let's not pretend, unless he goes to a team that really, like, because let's face it, Peyton Manning went to the Broncos. The Broncos were already stacked.
Yeah.
But, like, that's not much of a challenge.
Yeah.
Like, is he doing it to get paper? Is he doing it for a new challenge? Because here's the thing. Remember a soccer guy. Cristiano Ronaldo played for Manchester United. And then he got called by Real Madrid back in 08, 09, when he was like probably one of the top 4 players in the world. He goes to Real Madrid, and that's what a lot of players do because Real Madrid's one of those teams, like if they come calling, you go. Galacticos. They're one of the best clubs of all time. You go. It doesn't matter. It's like the Yankees for a lot of guys. You know what I mean? In terms of baseball.
It's like go play for them. Go do it.
You have to. It's an experience within itself, and the club is legendary.
Yeah.
So Cristiano Ronaldo, though, Real Madrid wins Champions League, big international European, club competition. He says, I'm looking for a new challenge. I'm going to find a new club. I'm leaving Real Madrid. Everybody says, oh, shit, where's he going? Is he going back to Manchester United because they've been suffering and struggling and not been able to perform? Or where is he going to go? So this guy ends up going to Juventus, which had won in league like 9 of the last 10 years. So everybody's like, dude, I thought you wanted to challenge yourself. What kind of challenge is that to go to the best team in another country? You're not challenging yourself. You're just taking a huge check, and you're joining another juggernaut of a team. Now, if he had gone to a team that was like struggling, I'd be like, oh my God, like not only would I never have expected that, but he would have earned so much respect. Not that he gives a fuck about our respect, but he's one of those guys who's like a workhorse who literally, like I've heard stories about Cristiano Ronaldo, and this is why I would make the argument that even right now, he might be, people say LeBron, and I'm like, yeah, LeBron. That's you can't argue against him either. But Cristiano Ronaldo might be the best professional athlete in the world that's not doing like decathlons. You know what I'm saying? Like or marathons, things like that. Because realistically, this guy, I've heard stories where this guy they'll do their 3-hour training session, and then after the training, he'll ask other players, "Hey, you want to come to my house?" And they'll think you want to hang out. But really, he's bringing them to a house so he can run 10 miles in his swimming pool that's one of those, like, got a treadmill in it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a workhorse. He's nonstop. And there are people like that in every sport who just have, like, another gear. You know what I mean? Another ability. I know a guy who fights MMA right now up in Boston trying to make his pro debut, and it seems like, goddamn, the universe is just working against him because he had a pro fight scheduled for, like, March 17th.
Oh, Jesus.
First guy he was supposed to – would have been – this past Friday, the 14th. First guy he was supposed to fight drops out. Second guy he's supposed to fight drops out. I think the third guy dropped out, and then they rescheduled for April, and now that's probably going to get canceled. I mean, this fucking guy, though, is, like, next-level workhorse. Like, you work out with him for, like, 2 hours, like, hit the weights, run on the treadmill, do all that stuff, and then he's like, okay, you ready to go spar? And you're like, motherfucker, I'm dead inside. Like, I can't do this, but he's just got that other gear, and I don't know where that comes from, but trigger,
Yeah, man, but I want to see two things. I want to see Brady go win a Super Bowl so he can say he's not defined by the Patriots. It would kill me to see it, but just as an individual that's given, again, and as someone that does not follow, I really don't follow sports, but even just like passively, I've been able to he's given me so much enjoyment and excitement over the years.
And people you care about, people you love.
I would love to see him win one just for himself, and I also really want to see Belichick win one without him. Even though he won one before him.
No, I think he won it.
But he wasn't the head coach. He wasn't the head coach.
Yeah, he won one.
I'd love to see him win one I'd love to see him win one still as the head coach of the Pats with someone else. So it's like the true chess player, the true mastermind. Like, yeah, Brady was a very valuable piece, but in reality, he's just a chess master, and it's like he can make do with less.
Look, but a chess master will use their rook, their bishop. They'll use
that's what I'm saying.
Every single piece to win the game, and that's what Belichick's been exceptional with that. Hate him, love him. He's one of those guys where it seems like even when the chips have been down in big games for them, he'll find somebody to carry the load.
Some bullshit.
And sometimes it's a guy that nobody's ever even freaking heard of.
Exactly. It's like, how the fuck? It's like I saw some post today, and I was like, guys, don't worry. Belichick's got his eye on a 9th-round kid with a broken leg right now. It's like,
you know, it's insane, man. I don't know.
You can't argue against it.
But
Who the fuck was Brady before he was Brady?
No, yeah, he was Drew Bledsoe's backup. He was a 6th-round pick. He was a nobody.
Yeah, that's right. He was Drew Bledsoe's backup. I saw Bledsoe play against the Falcons in like 2001. I saw one of his last games, and it's not like you knew. Oh yeah, and the backup is Brady. It's just whoever's the backup. His name was the backup.
Tom Brady was so good at replacing Drew Bledsoe that Drew Bledsoe's career went on for another like 3 or 4 years after that, but nobody remembers that shit because he got replaced and literally. Really? You know, his former
I didn't
team
even know that. I thought he was finished after that hit.
I'm pretty sure he went to he played for like Dallas or somebody of that nature after the Patriots. Yeah, I have to fact check
myself. Who's the guy that injured Drew Bledsoe? Because he is perhaps the most important player in NFL history.
All I know is it's been really easy to hate the Patriots, hate Tom Brady, for several reasons, and not just because they win, but because like look at Tuck Rule. I don't know if you remember that the game against the Raiders in the snow. Like
that was
it seemed like even since that moment, before they were winners, that shit was just gonna go their way, and it was all up until somebody freaking Eli Manning, who was able to like solve that puzzle. But really, it was Tom Coughlin because he was the same kind of chess player that Belichick was in terms of using. People that you wouldn't necessarily assume are going to be the game winners or the thoroughbreds for you come in and dominate a game or make a big play right here. And it's like, look, like maybe this guy's been skilled for a long, long time, but it wasn't until this guy put him in that position to succeed that he's got the chance to do that.
Contrary to everyone else knowing that, I love that the Giants won too, because to me that just makes it so much more real. Well, they're not invincible. They can lose.
Here's the thing. That's just it. Michael Jordan, despite him coming back, I think in the 95 season, to play like at the Wizards. End of the season, and they lost in the playoffs to what I think was the Magic, Shaq's Magic. Maybe it was the Indiana Pacers. I don't know. It was one of those two, but he came back and they lost. But it was like, but Jordan didn't lose in the finals. That's the difference. People see, and I'm a huge Jordan fan, like the GOAT. But, the guy lost in the first round of the playoffs like 3 or 4 times before ever getting that breakthrough. But honestly, like, how do you become the GOAT without failure? There's never been anybody who's just become the GOAT without losing at some point. I mean, look at Elon Musk. Dude lost his hair and then became the GOAT, and now he's got a full head. It's just like, hey,
the thing is, and Brady won. Didn't Brady won 2 more Super Bowls after he lost 2?
Yeah.
Then he lost a third, and then he won a third.
They had like a weird spurt of time. Like, what did they win? Like 3 or 4 in a row?
They won 2 of 3. They won 2 of 4. Or they won 3 of 4. They won something 3
because they beat the Rams. They beat the Panthers.
They beat the Eagles when I was in 8th grade.
They beat the Eagles. So they won those 3. Then they lost to the Giants. Then
lost to the Giants in 07, and then again in what?
In 11.
12, yeah.
Because the time they lost in 2011 was when they had Randy Moss, and they had that year where they were like 18-0.
No, that was the first time they lost.
I think that was 2000.
The first loss was 2006 because I was living in Maine at the time. The second loss I was at UGA. That was 2011. 2007. The first loss against the first loss against the Giants was from their undefeated season.
Was it really?
That was 07. Yeah, because I was living in Maine at the time. I remember.
Well, Randy Moss was on that team, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, that was 2007.
I didn't realize he was on the Patriots by 2007.
Yeah.
At 2007 to 2010. So they, let me see, 2007 NFL season. Yeah, the New York Giants over them. That was the craziest one, man, because that was when he made that helmet catch.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like you can't be a New England fan and like get to enjoy the Red Sox coming back from 3 down. You can't enjoy that and then at the same time also get to have your cake and eat it too. Like we came back against the Evil Empire and then we got destroyed as the Evil Empire. We went undefeated and then lost. Like it's both sides of the coin. Like you get to be the Evil Empire and you get to win against the Evil Empire. Like you can't have one without the other. And we also got to have a comeback.
More relatable.
Yeah, we got.
Whereas like Jordan in those Bulls, like 6 titles, never lost a final.
Dream team.
It's almost like stuff of like make believe.
The mythical.
Like, it's like a myth, right? So to get to that like mythic status, you can't lose.
Yeah,
You can't lose.
but it's
and that's
almost
the argument
not
people would make for Joe Montana.
Yeah,
like
but it's
in
almost
terms of
not as
arguing against
fun.
Brady.
It's almost not as fun. I think it's more impressive if you get to that dynasty
Well,
level,
who doesn't love it? Who
then
doesn't love a
lose
comeback?
and then win again. If you can lose and then win again, to me, that's
Well,
if you just lose and retire, then it shows that you weren't mythical. If you lose and then like Brady lost and then came back and still won 2 more, now it's like, okay, you can get punched in the face and still stand back up. That's a different kind of tough. It's like Rocky.
But I
It's not
can't
how hard you
argue
hit. It's
that
about how hard you get back up after you've been hit.
with the Jordan myth, because Jordan literally had his like father murdered.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
and then came back and still
mythical.
won.
He is
you know
mythical.
What I mean?
It's like, yeah.
If
Brady was 9-0 in the
arguing
Super Bowl.
Jordan stuff like, dude, the guy made the biggest sacrifice. He went to literally like the worst team in the NBA and played with them for 2 years, making them like a playoff team, the Wizards, in like early 2000s. So it's
He
like
went to the MLB.
yeah, or tried to. Never really got to it. But it's like, I mean, there's certain athletes who break that threshold and are like untouchable at that point. And I mean, Tom Brady, despite the losses, is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's because football. Let's put it this way too. In football, it's what you lose the game, you lose the series, you lose everything. There's no like 7-game series, 5-game series, or something that you have
There's
2 legs, like to play.
Not only that, you get physically hit.
Yeah, I mean,
NBA is physical, sure, but not in like
NBA in the '90s. Yes, NBA now.
But
I
even
don't make
then,
that
it's
argument.
no matter how physical a game is, no matter how much the refs let them play, that still never includes full-out tackling, which is just every single down in the NFL. That's not an exception. That's how a play ends.
It's way more hardcore than NFL rugby. No pads. And those dudes literally get their teeth knocked out and still play. You know what I mean? Like, whereas like, and even hockey with pads, to me, I argue is like that's way more brutal.
Yeah, you're playing
and
on
way more
ice.
tough.
You're playing
and
on ice.
less defense. The NFL, the reason I fell out of love with it completely is you've basically got thanks to social media and everything else, you've got like so many more massive egos in the league. And I mean, obviously the rules have changed so drastically, probably for the better for their health, sure, but for a game that's inherently brutal, as you keep reminding me, like it's so brutal, like without a doubt. But I just miss the old NFL, man. I miss the late 90s, early 2000s when I fell in love with it. And it was like brutality was at an all-time high, and NFL Blitz was the game because it wasn't that far-fetched, even though people had like their heads ripped off in the game. You know what I mean? You're like, but this is what I like.
Yeah,
this is what I like.
You could hit. Yeah, you could literally hit people, and you could tackle them and be in the air for 10 yards.
The only reason
MLB slugfest.
The only reason NFL will remain king for another several years is because of the money and popularity. But as we see now with the way people are raising their kids, I mean, I've spoken to several parents who are like, my child will never play football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas like when we were kids in middle school, my mom felt that way, but everybody else was playing it.
Yeah.
So you can play it, I guess. It took me 2.5 years of playing football, and I'll never forget this. Like, there was a guy at Pius. I know your brother will remember him. His name was Bobby Bray. Yeah. I mean, when we were in like 9th grade, this dude was already 6 foot or 6'1", probably like 220, or 215. He was a big kid, 200 pounds, maybe not 220. I'm exaggerating a bit, but maybe like 200 pounds, big kid. I mean, I'm 147 at this point, 5'7.5", 5'8", 147. It's a 50-pound difference. We both went for a tackle, and the player we were going for a tackle kind of like tripped, stumbled forward, and fell. So he and I, as we're coming from both sides, boom, collide right in the head. And I'll never forget, like, getting up and being like, oh, my God, like, what the fuck just happened to me? Like, I've never felt this way. Probably my first ever real concussion.
Jesus.
And I'll just never forget coaches being like, get back in there, Cerri. What are you doing standing around? You know what I mean?
And just being like...
And this was after I started smoking weed. So a lot of people instantly, the moment I was like spring train, we did spring practices, and then summer workouts and stuff started. And I'm like, I know it'll pay off, like hard work. You work out, you do all this stuff, you gain all this muscle, you build up. But right now, like after hitting my head like that, it like hit me like, and I was lazy as fuck, but I was still like, I think I'd rather just quit this shit and smoke weed.
That's why I
like,
never played, man.
I was like, this isn't worth it to me. But everybody instantly, you know, was like, Ricky Williams, you pothead, you don't want to play football anymore, this and that. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, there's part of the reason I left Pies is because just because I stopped playing football, now all these people who were my friends were like treating me like a piece of shit. You know what I mean?
That's
and
why
it was
I
like,
never started.
From my perspective, it was like, I'm not getting another injury like this.
Well,
you know,
the way I looked at it was like, I'm not going pro. That's how I looked at it. I was like, I'm 5'8". At the time, I was like, I'm 5'8". I was buff, but I was like, I can put in all this hustle. I'm not going pro. So to me, I'm like, and I don't even like the sport. So I'm like, I looked at it as like, why the fuck would I go stand on a field behind the high school in 110-degree weather? I was just like, I'd rather go to the gym for a half hour and then go.
I played football when I was in 8th grade, and I wanted to get chicks.
Yeah.
And then it hit me like, oh, I can get chicks without this. Like, there's a whole bunch of girls who don't even care about football.
Yeah.
So a big chunk of me just fell out of love with it. I was like, sports are stupid to me now too. It's just a big distraction, big waste of time. Of course, like I've had a love-hate with sports since about then. But realistically, like I saw football as this thing, like, and I'm like, it's not, the risk isn't worth the reward. But you know, you'll hear NFL guys say like, if I could play in the NFL for one more season and it was going to cost me 10 years of my life, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And you're like,
because it's
like, wow, like, but because of the rush, because people, they're not addicted to like, I don't think they're addicted to the money or they're addicted to the lifestyle, but it's like this
warrior. You're out in the Coliseum.
Like, you've got this arena, this
you're
stadium
in the
full of
fucking
people around you cheering your name. Who wouldn't get addicted to that,
you get
man?
Your teammates, and you're all like, you're gonna go fuck them. You're gonna go fuck up the other team. Like, protect your
human
teammates.
Animals, man. Like, yeah, it's like you
right
want to be a warrior, but on top of that, we love admiration. We love feeling needed. And
I mean, dude,
I
get it.
Wanted.
I get it, man. I like, you know, shit. I mean, I get it, dude. Like, I'd go rather just be a champion and like die early from like CTE or something. But like, you get to live more in 1 year than most people ever will.
It's like thinking
I get it. I get the draw. It's like, fuck it. Go out as a champion. Go out as a warrior.
Yeah. Think of this though. Like, think of this. So it's like what you just said reminded me like pagan Vikings, like Viking warriors. Like, if you didn't die with a weapon in your hand on the battlefield, you Valhalla, they're like the place to go after you die if you're worthy. It's not about being good or bad. It's just about being worthy. If you died with no blood on your weapon, you're probably not getting into Valhalla.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like that warrior's way.
Yeah.
And
you didn't even have to be a good warrior. You just had to give it your best.
You just had to do, you could be fight.
You could be an idiot. You could be an idiot with bad eyesight and a limp. But if you went out fucking screaming and swinging, you're going to Valhalla. It's like
so. You know, what would you choose in that scenario? And I kind of get that same vibe from a lot of these guys. You know, and I mean, plus, you're getting paid to play the sport that you love, you know, like if you told me right now, like if I could take this brain that I have now and put it in like 13-year-old me and said, if you work hard enough, if you, you know, eat right, if you study, if you just focus on what you need to focus on right now, you could play professional soccer for 15 years, 10 years, you know, fuck all the money. Like that's something that, it's like a fraternity, you know, and that's the big thing with the NFL. It's like a brotherhood. Yeah. And once you become a part of it, we from the outside looking in, we can't really fathom what that is. We can only like assume and, you know, kind of pretend to understand because of the things that maybe we've experienced in our own lives, you know? So for me, it's like this job I have now at Sawgrass, like with the PSAV team, I'm like, which we're changing our company's name. We bought a company called Encore. And since they have better reviews than PSAV, we're changing our name from PSAV to Encore. And it's like, that's weird to me. Like, it's not like Microsoft bought something, you know, and then changed their name to that just because, like, maybe people like it a little more. I don't know. But, like, we're such a tight-knit group of people. I never knew any of these guys before I started the job. And I think it starts with our boss who, like, he'll send me a text about my schedule. He'll be like, yo, homie, what's up? And he's like a 38-year-old dude. He's not like you know, he's a little bit older than me. But it's like this like familiarity of being like close to people and being a wolf pack, you know, like you're united, like, and you're together. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, man. I had some of those premeditated thoughts of the apocalypse. Like, what if I was working and we had like 6 or 7 of us dudes at the hotel working and shit just started happening, bombs started going off and stuff. And I thought about this in a fucked up way. I was like, well, I'm glad I work with these guys because we're like a brother. And to be honest with you, there's nobody in this entire hotel, in my opinion, maybe the valet staff, but they don't roll that deep, that could stop all 7 of us if we wanted to just take over this hotel right now. Because we're like 7 dudes between 25 and 40, all in good health, all physically fit because of what we do for a living. You know what I mean? And I'm just thinking, like, those are the kind of people you want to surround yourself with, even if there isn't an apocalypse going on, but just people you like. It's like a shield wall too. Going back to what the fuck's wrong with me in this Viking shit? It's like a shield wall essentially was like the Viking way to fight that the people from the British Isles had never seen before. People from the eastern part of the world too, but eastern tribes, countries were more prone to use like cavalry, like the Huns, the Rus, even the Mongols later on. So like a shield wall is good, but it might not be the most effective thing against cavalry. But you know, it would be terrifying, but you depend on the person to your left and the person to your right, because if they're not doing their job, you'll end up dead. So I see that same you know, I use that analogy when thinking about my coworkers too, because like we each have our areas of expertise. Like mine's operating cameras, like shooting video, but then we've got 4 or 5 guys on the team who are like audio experts who have this ability they've developed. They trained their ears to hear things that like the average person just wouldn't hear. I mean, we've got a couple of guys who do video specifically, which isn't like, you can get paid a lot to do that, but all of us could do some video. You know what I mean? And then you've got a couple of guys who are excellent at lighting. So although we're all versed in our own area, we're all like, we're all very versatile in terms of the big picture stuff, like everything that we do. So like I know a little bit about audio, I know a little bit about lighting, I know a little bit about video, but if you need a camera operator, I'm your best known guy on the team. And we have stuff like this. So, you know, surround people who are experts in different things that can ultimately contribute to your team or your group's goal, your main focus, which is for us is putting on live events for corporations, we host football teams. I mean, I met a bunch of football players and coaches this past season because they stay at the Sawgrass Marriott. So they need their quarterback room, they need their tight end room, they need the receivers room, they need the room for the defense. And now what do they need? They need screens, they need video, they need LCD packs, they need big screen TVs for their entertainment, they need all this stuff. So we're setting all that up, and I'm meeting them when they come into those meetings to make sure that they're ready to go for it all, you know. And now we're obviously drastically affected by all this because, you know, people were canceling conferences 3 months away, a month ago, out of fear.
That's insane.
And it's like, it's insane. I mean, wait. I always say, like, wait until the month of. You know what I mean? I know it sucks and you have to cancel a bunch of shit, but you don't realize, like, the livelihoods you're affecting by doing this now. But it's not just us. Like, live event experience, it's, like, not just sports. It's not just, you know, event hosting, conferences, things like that. Now we're talking about concerts. We're talking about theater. You're talking about all of these different types of events all fall under the same umbrella in terms of live event entertainment. So all of these people affected, you know, and it's nice to see people getting help, especially like the way the pro athletes are helping. Like I know Zion Williamson and Giannis from the Bucks, you know, one's in New Orleans, one's in Milwaukee, but they're like paying 1 month wages to all the arena workers.
Oh, really?
It's like, isn't this a fucked up time though? We're like, because let's face it, the totem pole, it's like owners and then like the GM of the league or whatever, or the, you know, whoever's, you know, running the operation, the showrunner, so to speak. And then the actual employees, the players and coaches and stuff like that. But now, so this tier of people in this totem pole are the ones stepping up to pay. Mark Cuban is the only owner I've personally heard of, like taking his own personal money and saying, I'm going to make sure that these people who work at my arena have their wages for the next month, which is huge. Because like it goes back to what I said about our society and like how we view community. And so if the people who have more than enough in times like these are willing to extend a hand and help those with little or no opportunities to, you know, for their finances in this time, well, then that's how we develop stronger bonds from the lowest income folks to the highest income folks, and we bridge this gap. It's not about redistributing wealth or anything. I know I'm all over the place. But it's not about redistributing the wealth, but it's about helping your fellow man when they're in need. Mm-hmm. Because if the guy who climbs to the top tells you they got there without somebody in their life extending a hand to them, I think they're full of shit for the most part.
Yeah.
Like rarely is somebody entirely self-made.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you had either a parent or a mentor or a teacher or a friend or a colleague or a coworker, whatever, at some point give you something. It could have just been a friendly hello, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
It could boost your spirits. You know what I mean? Like, I've tried to do that. I'm posting these ridiculous videos and photos of myself on Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook and places like that in my story every day for the foreseeable future, just saying like yesterday, I posted one that's like day 1 of quarantine and chill. And I put this Lady Gaga song on that I'm just fucking addicted to. I never listened to her music before, really. But this song, Stupid Love, plug to Lady Gaga, whatever. Her fucking song, I was listening to it in this rental that I have right now, another story, but I heard it and I'm like, oh my God. Like, this song, I joked with my wife, like total joke. And she was worried I wasn't joking. But I was like, I've never wanted to be a tranny more than in my life. And right now, listening to Lady Gaga while I'm cruising down the street, like, can you imagine my hair flow? Like, obviously, it's a fucking joke. I'm not trying to, like, insult Lady Gaga or transvestites. But it was like, my whole goal with posting this stuff in my story is make somebody laugh, make somebody smile, make them feel good for even just a minute. Because in these times right now, I mean, I do that like every day of my life. I'll make fun of myself to just bring a smile to somebody else's face, even though at certain times I'm like, why the fuck am I making fun of myself like that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like worth it to me. Same reason I became a teacher, man. Just help people in any way you can. I'm not a very smart guy. I don't have a lot of skills that I can't build you a bookshelf. I'm not a carpenter. I can't like come and fix I fix my sink, but I can't come to your house. You don't want me to come to your house trying to fix your sink and shit. I don't have these types of skills that like translate to everyday life. But what I can do is use the one gift that I know I have, which is like my sense of humor. So like yesterday is me dancing because HelloFresh still delivered our food for the week. So I'm like, I still got food, you know, like, and people responded well. I mean, I only got like 8 or 9 people actually reached out to me to be like, oh, dude, that's hilarious. Yeah. Like, I needed this, like, you know, but it's like every day. So today I posted a picture of me looking out the window into my pond in the backyard, and I had a quote bubble over my head that said, do you think ducks can get coronavirus? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm just fucking around, dude. Like, tomorrow, who knows what the hell it'll be. I want to, like, take pictures of myself in the backyard, like, from those screenshots from Narcos, where Pablo Escobar is looking all sad. And people are always like, when Game of Thrones gets pushed back for 2 years, and you're, like,
waiting for
like,
March Madness.
Hands in your pockets. Like, man, and so, going back to what I said earlier, when the billionaires started canceling shit, man, when they're willing to lose billions of dollars, that was the moment that I crossed the threshold from being like joking about this whole thing, like making like this is media pushing this fucking shit. Like, it's funny how they didn't flip out over H1N1 when Obama was in office. And I don't even hate Obama like that, but it's so clear to me how much the media hates Trump. And the funniest thing is when they lie about their own bias, when they try to tell you like, no, I'm a journalist, I don't, and it's like, dude, when Trump was getting elected, I heard you talking so much shit.
Yeah.
Like, don't act like you like him more now.
Yeah.
My problem is, like I've been saying, like, you take the good and the bad and you can acknowledge it, but that doesn't mean it needs to, like, change your entire worldview of whatever it is that's good or bad, because just like in everyday life, it's ebbs and flows, man. It's ups and downs. So somebody like Trump, he says a lot of shit that I'm like, this motherfucker needs to shut the fuck up. Somebody needs to take his Twitter away, take his cell phone away, and get him off Twitter. But at the same time, I can't stand it when people just want to talk shit. And I'm like, look, I don't care if you respect the person, but the office of President of the United States of America, you need to have a little respect for it, despite that person not having a lot of, you know, respect for certain things. Like, I don't care what it is. You know what I mean? So when they'll try to drag them down and say, oh, did you hear, did this, did that, and they only talk about the bad things, that's when I'll step in and be like, oh, but did you hear about the 9/11 first responders bill? And of course they say no.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, he executive ordered that shit, got it fast tracked, so that, guess what? That fund for 9/11 first responders and for all their medical treatment, that doesn't run out till 2072. Jesus. None of them will be alive then still, so it won't really matter that it ends in 2072. But Trump fast-tracked that so that they wouldn't have to worry about their medical bills and things like that and their treatments. To think like, you know, how much, I'm never going to be able to retire. I'm never going to do this because I have to pay for all these bills for this treatment that I need for this that happened to me 20 years ago. But I mentioned that to a lot of these people and they don't want to bring it up. I will literally do that, play devil's advocate though, with anybody. It could be somebody I despise. It could be Putin. But I'd be like, yo, but did you see like Putin did this? You know, the funniest thing is just like, you could find something to hate about everything in this life if you really try hard enough. Mm-hmm. But if, like I said, you just let things happen. Like for me, this works. I'm not saying it works for everybody. Just let things happen. Analyze it from almost like an outer body point of view. Like don't analyze it from the emotional side of yourself because it's easy for us to get wrapped up in that. Try to have some perspective outside of it because just as with the truth, you know, it's always three sides to every story. There's your side, there's my side, and there's the truth. Mm-hmm. So like no matter how you perceive things to be, that doesn't mean that's 100% accurate to what actually is going on. Yeah. It's like when you get into an argument with a friend over a text, and it's like, motherfucker, like we're now getting mad at each other over like written words that there was no way for me to understand your tone.
Yeah. When you text something and you're like, you say like, okay. And it's like, are you mad at me? You're like, what? No, I was just saying okay. Like I was going into I was stepping into the shower. I had one hand, so I just said okay. Like, yeah, it's
I'm
weird.
Fine, you know, or I'm driving, so I didn't know how to respond or whatever. But people could take that shit and blow it out of proportion. Yeah. I hate that, and you know, sometimes people are really toxic, so you do have to get rid of them. But you know, at least from my perspective, I like to try to give people the benefit of the doubt despite who they are, despite whether or not I agree with them or not, you know, because there are certain things that morally I could never shift on. Like, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I have to.
You back?
Because I stopped. I stopped. It's rough. Because like realistically, it's like, what do I have to gain from stopping myself from listening to opposing points of view? You know what I mean?
That's one thing like, I always try to think of. I'm like, no matter how much like this doesn't jive with like what I believe in or what I hold to be the truth, I'm like, you know, it says something about my own intelligence and maturity if I can't even listen to it. I always try to look at that as myself. I'm like, hey asshole, like I don't give a shit if you think that candidate A is completely incorrect. Like how unsure are you of your own beliefs if you can't even passively listen, not even have a discussion with, but like passively listen to a podcast or a news interview with, like how, it's like
it's crazy, man.
And crazy. The thing is like I'm guilty of that more than anyone. And
you know, but then people have developed this amazing skill also though of selective listening, where like you could be talking to them, I could be talking to you, looking you in the eye. And it's just like what they say, you know, in one ear, out the other. They're not even giving it the time of the day. And you know, I think we're all guilty of that at times. I'll literally, my mom's like super hardcore conservative. So like the last like 20 years have been crazy because like for me, I fell into that as well for a little while just from being around her. I feel like I just was like hardcore conservative, hardcore. And then I started to like look inward almost and realize like, well, I'm not exactly that. I thought I was, but I'm not.
I thought I was that in like 2016 through 2018.
Yeah, 2012 for me.
For me, it was like probably like 2016, 17, 18, and not really 19. Maybe some of 19, but really the last year I've started to look at it and I've been like, I don't think all the way one side is ever the answer for anything.
No, and they divide us on these things that like realistically, it's like I think from a human standpoint, we could all agree that like, you know, if you want to marry somebody, and marriage is the word that like fucks people up, especially hardcore Catholics. Like if you want to marry somebody, I don't really give a fuck, man. Like, you know, if you then are going to do stuff in that married relationship that then impedes on my life or something like that, then I have a problem. But if you want to be gay, if you want to be trans, if you want to be any of that stuff,
I don't give
whatever makes you happy. But then we start getting into the touchy subject of like bathroom use and things like that. And you're like, but look, motherfucker, like I respect your feelings and I respect who you feel you are. But if I have a little girl and you're a 6'4" and you have a 9-inch dick,
man, you're not
why
going
do
in
you
the
have to use the women's room?
Yeah, to me that transcends all like social acceptance and feelings. To me, that's like if I have a little daughter and fucking big old, Bob from down south is 6'4",
it's Tina now. It's not Bob. It's Tina.
But now he's Tina. Tina, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, you're not gonna use the stall.
I don't care if you're twice my size. I will kill you before you go into a bathroom.
That's terrible.
Take your dick out in the same room as my daughter.
You see that GameStop video?
If you are Tina, then I am now Tina as well, and I'm going in there with you.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and now no one's happy.
Like, Joe Rogan endorsed Bernie Sanders. But this is why the Democrats in particular are like self-imploding. Joe Rogan's a huge figure in like just mainstream entertainment, from sports to podcasting. He's probably one of the best well-known podcasters in the world.
Hands down, the biggest.
Yeah, if not the biggest, right?
No, he is quantitatively the biggest.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah. There's no arguing the statistics, the numbers, right?
He has a bigger audience
Bernie Sanders. Yeah. But now you've got all these Bernie Sanders supporters who want to pull out of supporting him because, and this is where the implosion comes, because Rogan doesn't agree with trans athletes competing against who they think they should. You know what I mean? It's like that Fallon Fox, that women MMA fighter, who's nearly killing women in MMA because she used to be a fucking man. She had how many years of testosterone flowing through her fucking body before she decided to be a woman?
Yeah. And
I hesitantly call her a she to begin with, but for whatever. It's crazy to me. But now they don't want to support him. He also doesn't support injecting kids under the age of 18 with any kind of like gender treatment in terms of like hormone. I can't remember what it's fucking like hormone replacement. Therapy, whatever, or treatment where it's like they're giving you estrogen or testosterone based on who you think you should be. Well, and realistically, it's like, so you're mad at this guy because his opinion varies from you, even though he's literally one of the only supporters you would need in order to potentially actually make a push for...
Yeah, that's some stupidity squared. The fact that you would turn down a Rogan endorsement...
Well, that's the most two things he disagrees with.
That's the most valuable, And the thing is and the things that you guys are disagreeing on are not even vital parts of like Bernie's platform.
No,
it's like
the
things you truly are passionate about, like whatever, and I'm not agreeing or disagreeing with them. Just like take his platforms, whatever, medicine, this, immigration, that, taxes, whatever those are, A, B, and C. The fact that you're turning down an endorsement because he disagrees with you on something that is inarguably superficial.
Here's the funniest thing to me about all this shit, dude.
To me, that says that you don't really care about those platforms and you care more about homogeneity in your party. The fact that you'd be willing to turn down a Rogan platform that could successfully launch your argument for medicine this or healthcare that, but you're turning it down because he disagrees on who should use the same bathroom. To me, that says that you don't really truly care about those platforms. You just want control.
Exactly. It's 1984, man. It's like just total control. And here's the other thing. Like, fuck. I had one going, and it's just fucked, man. It's just the whole thing. Oh yeah, here you go. You've got people. I don't even want to call her out because she'll never watch this shit. But my mom, she's like still wanting to go to church. And I'm like, have you not heard of the social distancing? And she's like, oh, blah, blah. But you've got like, and she's not even a religious zealot, but I'm sure you have a lot of religious zealots out there who are still going to church, still going to their services and say like, well, God will take care of me. I don't need to listen to science here. And it's like, okay.
What about who knocks on doors?
Jehovah's Witnesses. So
that's like a legitimate like health concern now.
So here's the thing. Here's the next thing. So they don't want to listen to science about this. They want to keep going to church because they love their religion. They love their God. They love being together, whatever it is. And then the other people, the other side of this, the people who hate them and they disagree with this and that, they accept the science behind the coronavirus stuff, but they refuse the science behind the transgender stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy how selective we are and what kind of science we're going to believe in.
How full of bullshit we all are.
Dude,
Just
it's
how full of horse shit all of
it's
us
so
are.
fucked. Like, and the problem is, you get into
Coronavirus, the great equalizer.
We're literally we're in the age in which, like, the world is as flat as it's ever been in terms of advantages. Like,
yeah,
because everybody almost on the entire planet has access to the internet in one way or another. Everybody, I mean, you got people in small, secluded villages in Africa who can get on the village, go to a village like internet cafe and get on Facebook. They have smartphones. They have all this shit. We have access to more information, more learning than we ever have in the history of humankind. And yet it feels like sometimes, or most of the time, we're living in an age of misinformation where opinions weigh more than facts. And I know I have friends, so many friends that hate the fuck out of this guy. But Ben Shapiro, facts don't care about your feelings. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how you feel about something or this and that. Like, you can't argue facts or science. I had a friend the other day, though, because I like to listen to other people's arguments. And this guy has a degree in biology. He was explaining to me how sometimes, in science, in nature, you'll have an animal born where it's got like an extra chromosome or this or that, or it's a male, but scientifically even it would be classified as a female. There are cases, but we've gotten to the point where, like, and this is what I argued back to him. I was like, you make a great point. But that has nothing to do with these parents who are almost forcing this shit on their kids and then getting them this treatment. Like, here's my thing with and Dwayne Wade, excellent basketball player. Don't get me wrong. But you're going to try to argue me that your son knew at 3 years old that he was actually a girl? Your son at 3 years old probably didn't even know how to wipe his own fucking ass.
Yeah.
But you weren't telling me that he knew his own gender. And it's like, okay, it's just a feeling. It's like, yeah, but so wait until they're 18 to 25 to allow them to make these decisions, because their brain's not developed at 3 years old. As a matter of fact, it's a little mush ball. So,
I mean, you can't rent a car until you're 25. You can't buy a gun until you can't buy a sidearm until you're 21.
But now
you can't buy a firearm until
18. Getting estrogen pumped into your body.
You have to have parental approval to join the military at 17 instead of 18.
Tattoos, everything else, man.
License, fucking everything, dude. Travel on your own.
But does that mean it's okay if I, as a parent, took my daughter to a tattoo parlor when she was 7 and said, "Oh, she really loves unicorns. Can we get a unicorn tattoo on her face?
Can we get a Post Malone, like, always she really wants it." No, they'd smack you.
Feels like she's a unicorn. So can we get a horn just planted in her forehead? Yeah. Like, she said she feels. Well, guess what, motherfucker? At 4 years old, I wanted to be a transformer.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I cut off my arms and fucking legs and give me robot shit. No, motherfucker. Like, just let me grow and figure it out for yourself. Because people change. We change. Man, I know people who, like, I'm one of these people. I go to a restaurant with a plan to order some fucking food, and then I get there, and guess what? I changed my fucking mind. Now I want this pasta instead of this burger.
Exactly.
Because our minds are changing. So
that happens with me going into the kitchen. Kitchen, I'm like, I'm having eggs. 4 steps later, I'm like, I'm having cereal.
Yeah.
Completely 180.
I told myself last night, when I wake up tomorrow, I'm going to have a bagel because I really want a bagel.
Look at today. Yesterday. Yo, can we push it to 2 p.m.? Yeah, Tommy, that's awesome. I wake up today. I couldn't sleep well. If you can't tell, I've got a terrible earache. I hope that's
what's up with that? Do you get those often?
No. Hope it's not coronavirus. But oh well, whatever. I've had a good time. But then I woke up today, couldn't sleep well, so I was like, fuck it. I was like, yeah, let's do noon. And you were like, sure. Then you were like, let's do 12:15. And I was like, still laying in bed, and I was like, I'm kind of hungry. I went downstairs, got some food. I was like, let's do 1. And I was just like, but even like, each time we were so sure, we're like, yeah, we're gonna do it then. And then it was just like we just waltzed in at like 1:15. We're like, fuck it, let's go. But
and it goes back to the point, like, people being unwilling to compromise or change their minds. I mean, if somebody has the same mindset at 40 that they did at 20, then I'll show you somebody who hasn't learned shit. Because if you don't grow and develop and change...
It doesn't mean that your opinion's right. That just means that you probably haven't... I mean,
that means you're stuck
certain
in
opinions,
your fucking ways.
Yes, I will think murder is wrong at 40 as well as 20.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you think that one thing... like, I think Rogan said this years ago, but he was like, we always look at politicians and we're like, oh, they flip-flop. He's like, to me, that just says, hey, there's a normal human growing and maturing and taking in information, and their stances is changing. We always look at it and go, oh, they're flip-flopping politicians. I'm like, dog, fucking Like change, like what kind of women I'm interested in changes. Like what music I like changes. What clothes I wear changes. Like, dude, if you were just this monolithic, you feel and think one thing permanently. That to me, that's not like, oh, he's not a flip flopper. He's a real straight shooter. I'm like, that's someone with blinders on.
That's right. My hesitation with politicians is like they're fucking weasels and snakes. They know how to some of them in particular snakes.
Like all of them.
It's not all of them, man, but
I think all of them
know how to navigate those waters in order to set themselves up for like 5-10 years from now to hold office still. You know what I mean? Whether they have to do it as a Democrat or Republican,
just gotta hold on to their power.
The problem in society, and Rogan had a guest on. It's the same guy I always reference, but I never remember his fucking name. And
Alex Jones.
It's like an Indian name, and I'm just terrible at remembering foreign names.
Just got a DUI.
This guy basically said like how skewed our view of politicians can be because of the way the media and how our two-party system kind of forces them into a corner, essentially. Like, okay, it's like Obama, and I'm going to butcher this, but Obama, from a worldview, is a Democrat, or like a liberal Democrat, progressive Democrat, whatever you want to call it. But in like a smaller community, he's something else. And in each you go finer and finer into smaller communities. In his house, he's actually like moderately right.
He's dad.
You know what I mean? But he's in his youth,
where are you looking at it from?
But where are you looking at it from? So from the media's perspective, yeah, he's a Democrat. But the farther you go, you realize there's if this is the middle of the line, there's Obama, and then there's Bernie Sanders, and then there's AOC, who's way the fuck way over
but
here.
Even that's just from the lens of the media. What about?
That's the scale. But over this side of the line or this side of the line, you're automatically a Republican or Democrat. But there's a lot of Republicans who actually are pretty liberal.
I was gonna say, like, foot on the line, you're out of bounds. If you end up in the stands, you're out of bounds. Both are still out of bounds, and it's like
exactly.
One of them you had to use instant replay. The other was Ron Artest. Like, it's like
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean. That's an extreme. Ron Artest, man.
But I mean, just in terms of like going out of bounds. I mean, literally going into the stands. Like
either way, yeah. So it's like that's why we think we live in this like world made of black and white, two sides. But it's really like if this is the threshold and this is the line, it's not black or white. It's really like forget the line. Line shouldn't even be there. It's just a bunch of gray. It's literally just a bunch of gray because I was registered as a Republican for years and years and years. But guess what? Anytime there was like a legalized marijuana thing, I'm doing the most anti-Republican thing I know and voting pro. And that leads me to another point of a good that I think I could see coming from all this is what better way to stimulate the economy than at the federal level, finally legalizing marijuana. Yeah, you got to make it 21 plus, but literally, to get out of the Great Depression,
which looks like we're going into.
What did they do? They said prohibition is not making the government any money because people are still getting their alcohol and they're just getting it illegally.
Same thing with money to Al Capone. Yeah.
Yeah, you make heroes and millionaires, billionaires out of gangsters.
Yeah.
So same thing we're doing right now with the cartel.
Someone's getting the cake, so might as well be us.
Ship up all this marijuana into the country. Instead, make it a homegrown thing. Make it a U.S.-driven business where all farms, all dispensaries are all owned and operated by Americans.
Yeah.
And then allow them and each...
Dude, me and the author of The Drug User's Bible, Dominic Milton Trott, this awesome... I've had him on several times.
I saw that.
He's a fucking boss. But we talked about the whole idea of legalizing marijuana. It's like legalizing marijuana. It's like no one's saying legalize marijuana and we're all gonna hold hands and kumbaya. It's like, dude, it's like by all means, let capitalism take it. We were talking, but we were like Budweiser. They literally have Bud in their name.
Here's their
they have shipping routes. They have warehouses. They have distribution centers. They have all the infrastructure. They're like, dude, just start selling pot too. You call it Bud
Greens. They have Marlboro Reds.
Yeah.
They have Marlboro Blacks.
But I mean,
Greens.
Budweiser. It's literally Bud. Just fucking put in. You could literally sell pot. I mean, anything Okay, yeah, you sell cigarettes, or you mean where do you buy cigarettes and lottery tickets and beer and Diet Coke? You get them all at the same spots. Any of those companies can tap into. Hey, and wait, look at this. We also sell blunts. $5 pre-rolled.
Ingesting, and here's the other problem too. Like that I thought.
Why wouldn't McDonald's sell pot? That would boost their sales.
Well, and I'm like, yeah. Why not? But like, it's still gonna be 21 plus. That's my problem.
Absolutely. Let's not be stupid. Like, no matter no different than alcohol. Like, yeah, you got to be 21.
Here's my big thing though too. Is like there's so many people who don't realize, like, when they think of marijuana too, they're like, oh, ooh. It's like, motherfucker, like, you think you have to smoke this shit, motherfucker? Like, you're an idiot. Like, what if I gave you? What if you said to
tincture?
What if you said, hey, I have a headache, and I said, hey, drink this 6 ounces of lemonade, and you're gonna feel amazing, and you're like, what?
Or put, I'm like, put this droplet under your tongue.
Yeah, or something as simple as that, right? Like, but I'm just saying, it can come in so many different forms.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be toucan, dude. It can literally, it can be a colorful little gummy bear that you wake up and.
1 second.
Yeah. Steve Cerri going to get the marijuanas. I have a terrible earache. I hope I don't have coronavirus. If I do, I leave this podcast to
legs from these squats. I never do squats.
I'm talking about if this earache is coronavirus and I die, I'm legally saying I'm giving my podcast to my friend Matt. Dank Nugs.
Check it. All right, look.
Can you give me one through the screen?
Well, I broke. Oh wait, here you go. Nutritional facts. How hard is that?
Yeah.
You put this shit on there. You can see like 210 calories per. There's seven in these. It's 350 milligrams. It looks like a bud.
It does. That's what I thought it was.
It's a little fucking cookie, dude. It's like a Rice Krispie treat.
I literally thought it was a nug.
Yeah, it's strawberry punch. It's a Rice Krispie treat that tastes like a Rice Krispie with fruity pebbles. Like, it's amazing. Like, but
give me one through the screen for this earache, dude.
It's a totally different feeling though than me using this, which is a synthetic oil. Like, so, and then that's totally different than if I were to smoke a joint. And then on top of that, like, what's in that joint? Is it indica? Is it sativa? Could it be a hybrid? There's so many different things. Here's the problem with the government and with the legalization of marijuana. Because, sure, they sell it in stores. You can get different strands. You can get different products for different, resolutions. Maybe you just want to get high. Okay, that's fine. But maybe you actually have, like, nausea. Or maybe you can't sleep at night. Or maybe you have anxiety. Or maybe you have depression. And all these things, all these different strands, these specifically different strands can help you with specific things that might be different ailments. So, like, the problem is, unlike alcohol, alcohol you can do this too, but mostly, West Virginia, Louisiana. Like, yeah, you can make moonshine in your bathtub. Sure, you can fucking go through all that trouble. That's a lot of trouble.
Might go blind.
Here's the thing. Yeah,
might drink the
blind.
methanol, not the ethanol.
The government doesn't want this shit legal, because with the last thing what they want, even after they're taxing it, even after they're making a killing on it, is for Joe Schmo to say, okay, well, what I'm going to task myself with is learning how to grow these different strands. And now I have a garden in my backyard with 8 plants. Yeah. I'm yielding, let's just say 24 ounces every seed. It's probably more than that. I don't know too much about growing it. But now I have my own garden, the same way I would with vegetables and fruits, can supply myself with what I need to self-sustain. That's what the government doesn't want. The government wants you to depend on them. So the way they see it now is it makes them more money to put your ass in jail for that shit
through private prisons
than it might be. But how many people on average are going to actually take the time to grow their own shit, man, and to learn about it? Probably not that many.
Infinitesimal. Even though it's interesting, and I like the idea of, like, oh yeah, I could grow. The reality is like, I could also grow my own vegetables. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm probably going to ride to the store and get some spinach. I'm going to get some carrots because I don't give a fuck. I got a podcast. I got an Xbox. I got shit to do. I don't want to grow.
I've been making this argument for years, though. Like, that it's all about the fact that if you can develop your own shit, then on top of that, if I had a whole plant in my backyard just for headaches, why the fuck would I ever buy Tylenol again? If I can just make a butter and then put it on a little cracker and eat it, and my headache goes away. Yeah. So the pharmaceutical industry would take a major hit. But this is where we get into that point where I was talking about good and bad coming from all this, is how much more can governments be willing to allow people to suffer for capital gain, whether that be in a jail cell or be physically, mentally, whatever it may be, because whatever we're doing now doesn't work.
It's not.
It's
not working.
Hate it or love it, the movie that I thought best exemplified that last year might have been Joker, and Parasite in terms of financial inequality, but like, and what people have to do and what it's like being so poor. But like Joker, man, it really holds a mirror up to what it's like to live in this society with mental health issues, and it's obviously to an extreme, but like the guy is I was just watching a video of this dude on YouTube last night, and it was freaking me out because it's called, like, starts with a P, but it's something about laughter. Like, you cannot stop pathological laughter. And there's a scientific term for it too that I probably will butcher. But like, the guy literally is laughing nonstop. But on the inside, he probably feels like he's dying. He's probably so exhausted.
They're like crying because
you can't go to a fucking funeral because they say one thing and all of a sudden you can't control it. Your nervous tick. It's like Tourette's. You just start laughing. Well, that's kind of what Joaquin Phoenix did so well in the movie, was make you believe like he's got this disorder. But you know, you're riding on the subway and you just burst out laughing. The next thing you know, Joe Schmo again, he's pissed because he can't grow his marijuana in the backyard, you know, and he hears you laughing, he thinks you're laughing at him. Now he wants to fuck with you. Like, so it's an everyday struggle for these people, and we're not really like, it just feels like, especially if they're left behind in terms of their financial situation, if they're in the lower third, nobody's going to give a, I mean, I'm in the middle class, dude, and when I got let go from Channel 4, I almost felt like it was a big fuck you to everything that I've been dealing with mental health wise, because I've been going through all this shit. I had like one outburst, probably my only second outburst in 2 years, because somebody disrespected me, and I felt really shitty at the time mentally, and I kind of flipped out, and it was like they just fired me for that. And it's like, to me, that's what we do to people in this society, especially when they're going through it the worst and don't know how to handle it because they can't figure out how to get the help that they need, is we kick them to the curb. Same thing with homeless people. Same thing with homeless vets.
We're also quick to be like, speak up when you feel this way. Like, let's end the stigma.
But you don't know how difficult that is.
And then when you finally do bring it up, someone's like, shut the fuck up. And you're like,
or they're like, ooh, this person has something wrong with them. Like, and then they start talking about it.
Dude, that's what I fucking like when people look at someone with like mental illness and they're like, I've seen people say like, or I've like read it and be like, yeah, it's just like, I don't even want to be near them if I know that there's something internally off. And it's like, dude, a very, very small percentage of people with mental illness are like truly not in touch with this reality. That's like severe schizophrenia. Like, the vast majority of it, it's like, just think about being like, you know, on a bad, sad, rainy day. It just kind of feels like that often.
All the time.
But it's like, that's what it is. It's not like, you know, I'm like not in touch with reality and I'm hearing demons. It's like, no, dude, it's just. But when you look at people and you're like, oh, that guy's just fucked, you're like, dog, what the fuck? Like, what I feel is nothing you've never felt. I just feel it more often. It's that simple.
This is what I mean, too. And for my majority of my life, I lived through life wondering what, like, I'm a very empathetic person. And if I do something to somebody that I could perceive, and maybe I have a exaggeration of this in my own perception, is like, I end up apologizing like a maniac. You know what I mean? And I have a lot of people tell me, like, they're like, dude, just stop. Like,
yeah, me
it's
too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's like this thing in my head, like.
And you apologize for apologizing.
For years, yeah, exactly. And so for years and years, like, and it got the worse it was when I was at Channel 4. Like, I had times where I thought, like, am I fucking schizophrenic? Because I hear these voices and I don't know what the fuck they are, like, or who they are. It doesn't sound like me because it's just, and it's so mean. It's like, you're fucking worthless. You're a piece of shit. Nobody gives a fuck about you. That person you love is just waiting for you to fuck up so they can kick you to the curb like anybody else. And this and that. And it got so bad, man, like, that eventually, like, I didn't have my own, like, self-love, an internal voice representing that part of me to, like, stand up to that voice. So like, I'm just living my life. And every night I'd go out to a story for Channel 4. I might have mentioned this before. And I'd be driving back to the station. And Jacksonville has, like, it's known for its, like, bridges, its waterways. I'd be driving over a bridge. And that voice would be like, if you drove this fucking truck off the bridge right now, no one would even fucking care. And like, you probably couldn't even survive. You should do it just to see if you can survive those cold waters.
You fucking bird.
Because
that's
like, part of me just wants to feel alive. It's like it's like this lyric in a song from a video game, from Red Dead Redemption 1. Jose Gonzalez, he composed a song called Far Away. And the first lyric is step in front of a runaway train.
Yeah.
Just to feel alive again.
Yeah.
And to me, it was like my whole being, existence in that moment was I'm covering all these things that people would be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Must have been cool working in the news, interviewing celebrities, doing this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but when like it's Tuesday and I've already covered 2 triple homicides and one in which like a baby was shot and killed for no reason other than existing, like you get detached, in my opinion, from like reasonable thoughts about reality and what is really going on, because that's the extreme of it, and you're always caught up in the extreme of it. So to me, it was like I almost felt like just completely dead on the inside, because I felt like there was nothing I could really do other than tell these stories. But at the same time, when something tragic happens and people in the newsroom are almost like celebrating because now they have an opportunity to win another award or this and that, I'd be like, how the fuck can you feel this way? How the fuck can you think like this? And my entire life, I spent 20 plus years, probably 27, 28 years of actual rational thought. So not that long, but like 20 years of rational thought, because I don't consider me before like 8, 9 years old really rational thought. I mean, it's hard to do.
I don't think the first 10 years.
I had a close friend of mine die when I was 6, drowned in a pond, froze to death. So to me, that was almost, so 6 years old, 7 years old is when I felt like this adult part of my brain start thinking about things that I don't think little kids should think about. Like death is the big one. Like, and it was like, all these fears you start developing, and then you start becoming jaded towards people. And I became angry. I mean, I was angry with my home life, I was angry with all this stuff, but that's besides the point. I got to this point in my life though, where it just dawned on me, not everyone's brain operates the same way yours does. Just like cars don't operate the same way. They all have similar functionality, and they all have similar parts and pieces that exist within them.
Or headphones and microphones.
Like to my brother, exactly.
Yeah,
to my
brother, it's like what we're both.
I'm like, I'm not calling him out. I'm not trying to call these other friends of mine out. But like, I know a lot of people, and my mom can struggle with this too, have a real issue with apologizing. Whereas it's like almost too easy for me at times. So I've had to learn to not apologize for everything. Yeah. But like when I hurt someone genuinely, and I feel that like I need to apologize, I have no problem doing it. Yeah. I don't have this ego that's going to put up this wall and say, you're right, you're not wrong, don't apologize.
Yeah.
But I did start to realize, like, from that, with people's brains operating differently, that perhaps the voices I were hearing weren't because I was crazy. And dude, I've got to send you this album, and next time you just need a day where you're going to just you just want to meditate, or you just want to listen to something that'll give you like just this unbelievable, in my opinion, almost like this just perspective. It's this guy, East Forest, is this musician. He makes music. He went to live with spiritual guru Ram Dass, who passed away last year.
Yeah.
He went and lived with him for like 6 weeks or something like that, and recorded all these conversations they had.
I love Ram Dass.
Dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna love this album. I'm gonna send it to you, and you're gonna flip out. He recorded all this amazing shit from Ram Dass, and then made an album with it. And it's a lot of like,
dude, there's an awesome one called Crease, KRIECE. He made an album called Cosmix, MIXXX, and it's all Ram Dass. It's Ram Dass with like beats. It's fucking amazing.
So it's like Ram Dass with beats, but then there's certain songs, like a few of the songs have this like singing, but it's like some of it's like African tribal stuff, and other parts it's a little different. But it's just incredible. And he's talking about ego, and he's talking about your soul, he's talking about all these things. And it just started to dawn on me that while working in the news, what I really truly believe happened to me, whereas like all these doctors would tell you, oh, you're bipolar, you're this, you're that. And I mean, I still have anxiety and depression, but that's something I've always had. But I just started to realize like that voice in my head that was telling me I was a worthless piece of shit, that it was this and that, it was like my ego. It's like my ego, because I was living a life at the time that the person who I wanted to be was so conflicting with who I really am. Like the person I was trying to be by working in the news, develop on my social media presence, this and that, like, which I never really care about, like marketing myself that way and things like that. It just like got so serious that like, it's like my ego and my soul are having this forever battle always. And like, it's a constant war. Every day is a battle, and I'm going to lose some battles, but I'm not going to lose this war if I'm able to always try to feed my soul with what it needs. My buddy and I had a great conversation recently about music and how the different types of music, like I'd love to get hooked up to like one of those brainwave scan machines, like, and just have music play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And see how my brain reacts to different music, because dude, I had this aggressive aura around me the last couple of months, and I didn't know what was going on. I was like, this isn't me. Like, what? It's like my ego coming back and taking over me and consuming me and making me say things and do things that I don't want to do.
I get that way when I find I'm meditating less. It doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But I'll notice after a couple of weeks, I'll be like, I like that confrontation could have been completely avoided if I had just said, you're right, I'm wrong. Like, you're right, I shouldn't have done that.
In the face.
Yeah, like, or like
weeks ago.
Yeah, like there are times where I'm like, and it happens slowly, but one day you just kind of notice it. You're like, God, I'm just being like, I'll find myself and I'll be like, yeah, dude, the world literally revolves around you. I'll just be thinking like, like I'll be angry at myself.
Yeah,
I'll be like,
you'll be like talking shit to yourself, and you're like, I got to be my biggest fan because. There's already enough people out here talking shit and acting this way. I punched a dude in the face at the hotel.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't even know this guy that well. He's 23. I didn't know that when I punched him. I probably could have given him a little bit more of a pass if I'd known he was 23. But even so, we live in this age now, too, where people get so comfortable talking shit on a computer or through a phone that they forget, like, if you talk shit in real life, you might get punched in the fucking face. And this guy said some things to me that were just, like, so volatile and foul that it took me like 10 minutes of processing it. And I wanted to look at him and be like, yo, man, what you were joking about back there was not cool. But I could never like find the words, because it's not easy. Like, it's not easy to like tell people that, because, and I was going to use this term earlier, and I'm not a big fan of it, but at the same time, I've witnessed more and more of it since it became a thing, is that toxic masculinity shit. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, in this society for men, it's like guys fucking with each other. If you're the guy who speaks up and says, hey, I don't want you fucking with me, a lot of times, in just my own experiences, that's when it gets turned up to like 110. Like, oh, you don't want me fucking with me. You don't want me. So like, I kept quiet. And then this guy said something to me like he'll fuck me up. And I just had enough. At that moment in time, baby, I live in Florida. This is stand your ground state. If you want to fuck with me, I'm 5'7", 165, and you're 6'1", 240. No judge in the fucking world is going to believe that you felt threatened from me, but they will believe vice versa. I'm not saying I'm premeditated, but I know the law in terms of that. So I'm like, if this motherfucker says one more thing to me, like he'll fuck me up, then I feel directly threatened, and I'm in the right to defend myself at this point. So he says, get fucked. And I just turn and I shove the fuck out of him. And I'm like, and I don't even say anything really, because normally when I push somebody and I just look at them with that crazy Italian fucking rage, they're like, oh, I was just kidding, man. I'm sorry. I was just kidding. Like, please, let's not escalate. But this dude, 6 foot, 6'1.5", 6'1", whatever, 240, turns and like squares up to me. And he's like, oh yeah, it's going down. It's time. He takes one step. And this is when, like, I've never really trained in martial arts. I watch a lot of MMA. I watch some jiu-jitsu, combat jiu-jitsu, stuff like that too. Boxing, big-time boxing guy. And I've, like, fucked around before. But everything slows down in that moment for me. And I say to myself, if he takes one more step towards you, you got to fucking defend yourself, because this is a big guy, and you don't know if he's going to try to tackle you or what he's going to try to do if he gets on top of you. I don't know jiu-jitsu, dude. I'm probably going to be fucked. I'm going to wear myself out by panicking or something, because I don't get into those situations often. I don't train, so I got to be careful. Well, that second step he takes next to me, and I just, you know, I've had this happen to me like 4 or 5 times in my life when, like, I knew shit was about to go down, and I'm like, I can end this. Like, so I only think it was really like 60% of my power in terms of that, but I hit him with like a hellish right hook. Boom! Fucking hit him right in the face, right in the jaw. His glasses go flying off his face. And now he comes back too and is like, dude, I always thought we were just joking. I thought we were... And I was like, I looked at him in the eye and I said, not once did I say one fucking thing to you that would warrant any kind of fucking, you know, repercussion, like you coming at me the way you have all day. And I'm not fucking doing this anymore. So finish setting this fucking room, because that's what we do for the job. And fuck off. You know what I mean? And I came back. I mean, it took me 5-10 minutes to calm down. I was like, I fucked up. I'm like apologizing to people. And most of them are like, dude, if somebody said that kind of shit to me, I don't know how I'd respond. Like, that's terrible. Like, that you even had to, like, deal with it. And so like, but in my head, I'm like, God damn it. I'm so mad at myself because I'm not this person anymore, but I've had this aggressive aura around myself. I knew that. And I still let myself get pushed to that point where I like physically acted on it.
Yeah. It's the worst feeling when you lash out and then you're like, why did I do that?
And I work with all these dudes who are like 25, 26. None of them have ever even thrown a punch at another person before, but a couple of them talk shit. Like they're like, Steve thinks he would take me in a fight. Yeah. But I blah, blah, and I'm like, look, motherfucker.
I think
like I don't think that. I know that, but I don't even like expressing myself this way. That's not me anymore.
I think all that stuff is super beneficial because I try to look at it as like a battle with myself. I look at it and I'm like, I don't even look at it as like, can I fight this person? I look at it and I'm like, are you tough enough to keep yourself calm?
That's it.
You make it a battle against yourself. Disregard them. Look at it as you versus you. You're just like, all right, there's half of me that's saying let's fight. Let's see if I can fight that thing. That part of me that's saying let's fight. Let's see if I can say no, we're going to stay calm and centered. To me, that's the real battle. Is like,
no, you're 100% right.
It's just like, let's see, because I mean, nothing is more of a, sure, you can punch someone, but nothing, I mean, having worked security at bars, nothing truly fucks with someone more than when you just show that like you cannot be,
you're unfazed.
Not only are you unfazed, but like you're not interested. It's just like, you just keep the look on your face that says like, dude, I'm paid to stand here. I don't.
So I did that.
Thank you for entertaining my afternoon. Like, you just gotta disconnect.
I did that for like all day, and then after he said this one thing to me that I definitely was like, okay, that's the line crosser. I waited like 10 minutes trying to like just calm myself down, and then he kept wanting to escalate it. And like I said, I felt like I failed myself. I failed the people I love because I reacted, you know? So like, it's all a learning experience. I got to take a piss, but that'll lead me to my next thing, which changed my entire life for the better, that I tried for the first time ever, like a week and a half after that. And once I tell you about this shit, you're going to be like, oh, fuck. Like, that is crazy. But maybe you've talked to somebody about it before. But let me take a piss real quick. I'll be right back. I got a little more time. I don't know how much time you have.
Yeah, I
got to tell you at least this story. I'll be right back.
All right. We're recording. All right, yeah.
So I was in this aggressive state of mind for months, and part of me felt like it had to have been because obviously I'm more stressed, got a baby on the way. I need to make money. All this shit's happening. Been feeling stressed. Got sick. Was feeling kind of shitty too. And then I had a buddy come over. We were watching the UFC. I don't think it was it was weekend before last, like a week ago, Saturday. And it's crazy. Part of me was like, man, when I get into this state of mind where I just feel overwhelmed with so much shit, like weed isn't going to help with that. Like it's going to help me like feel like a good vibe like within myself, but it's only temporary. You can't smoke weed all the fucking time. You can't vape all the time. You can't eat edibles all the time. So like for me in the past, what's really worked is tripping, eating mushrooms, eating acid, eating something that's just going to almost like, here's how I see it. In our lives,
the computer.
In our lives, like every day of life, dude, like just picture a brain. Just picture a brain. Every day of life, with our interactions with each other, with our own internalization of certain thoughts and feelings, essentially our brain is just this floating nothing. Imagine a blank room, nothing. Well, all these negative thoughts, all these negative things we say to ourselves, negative entertainment that we engage in, everything, you know, that we take in, we slowly build a cage around our minds. Like just imagine, like one day maybe a whole wall is built, or maybe just one bar is placed. It could be it's just floating.
You start to construct reality.
You start to fucking build a cage around yourself, and it's like how we perceive reality. And I had done that for months and months and months, and I just felt like I don't know what the real cause was. Like I said, it could be some of the music, could be some of the shows, could be the games I'm playing, could be just like every day not enough exercise. Who knows? It could be a lot of things. But I'm building this cage, and I just felt like, man, I just feel like I'm in this cell like right now, and I need to get out of it. So the way I know how to press like restart or reset on my reality is by leaving it, by getting out of it, getting out of my own head, getting out of my own body, leaving, going on a journey, a walkabout, so to speak, is how I look at it, because that's like a normal thing in Australia for the Aborigines is They go on a walkabout. Native American tribes did it too, where you hit a certain age and it's time you eat peyote, you eat something.
Go out in the fucking woods.
Yeah, go out in the woods and be with nature and have something change within you. So my buddy comes over to watch UFC. I'm like, damn, wish he'd brought me some acid, but I'm still kind of sick. So it probably wouldn't be a good thing for me to take acid anyways, like and fucking smoke all night and trip balls and then wake up, go to bed at like 8 a.m., and then wake up at like 1 p.m. and still feel worse than I did. So then out of nowhere, he's about to leave. And I'm like, yeah, man, but maybe soon, My wife was out of town. So I'm like, nah, like I'm not gonna upset anybody. There's nobody here but me. Like, but he didn't have it, but he let me know. He said, hey, but I do have my DMT pen. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, I've heard fucked up things about this though. Like I've heard like if you smoke DMT or whatever, like it's out of a crack pipe and like it's hard to like get back to reality and like feel normal again after use and whatnot. And he says, well, this is different, man. This is like a concentrate. It's just like our cartridges that we use for bud, and the DMT's in that. You hit it, however much you want. However much you hit it is how deep you'll go down like the rabbit hole. You don't have to hit it more than once. You'll feel something, but how deep do you want to go? I've told you I've got the Philips Hue lights. They like change colors and shit. Well, so I'm like, okay, I guess we're doing this. I put the Ram Dass East Forest album on that I mentioned to you because I'm like, this is what I've been like when I do meditate, rare occasions, this is what I've really enjoyed listening to lately. I throw that on, we come over to the couch, I take the pen, I rip it once, almost like instantly. I can't even like keep it in. Like I rip it. He's like, you have to hold it in. I rip it. And I'm like, I'm sick still though a little bit. So I can't hold anything in too long. So I'm like instantly like, oh God. Oh, I'm like, oh dude. And in my teenage years, salvia was a big thing. You get your hands on it, like Love Shack and those stores in Georgia that had all that shit. And salvia always like overwhelmed me for like 45 seconds and then it was over. You know what I mean? But I was kind of felt screwy afterwards. That's something you smoke.
Yeah.
Smoke salvia. One time I smoked salvia and literally I was on like a 3rd story deck at a party and I didn't even know it was salvia. Somebody just handed me a bowl. I thought it was weed and I ripped it so hard and I was like, but it's like almost as if like, and this is terrible to say because this almost like scares people away probably. But when I took salvia, like I could almost like feel it in my veins. It felt like almost like rushing over me. Like I imagine the same feeling would be if you were about to be executed by lethal injection. Like you feel it rushing your veins, like, oh, something's changing in my like anatomy, in my being. So I got that feeling. I had the DMT pen. I was like, oh my God. He said, just close your eyes, man. Just close your eyes. And I'm like closing my eyes. I'm like, oh my God. Like I feel this like overwhelming, like almost if like something is replacing my blood or replacing like what's in my veins right now. And it's I can feel it going from my fingers all the way to my legs, through the back of my neck, like just everywhere. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is that? And I hit it again. And then I had the single greatest experience I'd ever had using any kind of drug, man. And I mean, I've smoked opium, I've taken mushrooms, I've taken acid. I never did peyote. I really wish I had been around people who take peyote. I've smoked all different kinds of weed, you know what I mean? Like done drugs that I'm not proud of, that I don't even want to admit that I've done, you know what I mean? Like, so a plethora of shit. And, but this was the single greatest experience I've ever had. And I haven't listened to a lot of the Rogan stuff where he talks about it for long periods of time, but that's where I've heard it brought up or referenced before. So I didn't know what to expect. I hit it a second time. That feeling is like rushing over me. It's like a euphoric warmth. It's like almost as if like when you like feel chill, you're not cold. You feel chill and then somebody else wraps a blanket around you. And like, oh, so warm now. Like I'm sitting there and it was insane, man. I'm like looking in my head. My eyes are closed and I'm looking in this blank room and it's like, there's just this item. And what sticks out to me the most was that it was like a green cone and it had textures all over it. I can shut this door if that dog gets annoying. But it had, you didn't hear it? Okay,
I can't hear it.
It's like a green cone. And then like without me even meaning to, it starts changing to another shape and a different color and a different texture. And it goes on, man, for like, mind you, the funniest part of this whole story is that we did it at 1:45 a.m. This was the night of the time change. So time went ahead an hour. So I wake up like 20 minutes into it, 15 minutes into it. I'm like, oh, let me hit that pen again. I hit the pen again. And now I'm in like an all white room that just has 2 benches, white couches, like lining the side. And now it's changing colors and changing textures. But this entire time, I never felt such like, I said, like euphoric peace almost. Like I was in this state of like I'm not in my body. I'm not my body. I'm not my mind. I'm just my soul now. I'm just existing.
I've been there a couple times in meditation, and it's
like a different dimension. Yeah, and I've been there only once in meditation, and I've explained this to that friend of mine again. But like when I snap out of it, and I look at my phone, and my phone says 3:15 a.m. I'm like, oh my God, we've been in there for an hour and a half, dude. He's like, no way. So then I go into my text and realize I texted somebody right before we did it, and it had only been about 30 minutes. Dude, there was no withdrawal. There was no depression or anxiety afterwards. It was almost as if like all of my mental health issues were gone. Like this lasted for like several days. This feeling after this post feeling of like I'm at like peace with everything in the world, and nothing can offset that. And now I'm back to like my that I desire to have around me at all times. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just like something that I would explain if I could only use one word. It'd just be pure. I felt pure. Like I felt like uninhibited by like my own fears, my regrets, my worries. Like all of this was gone, and I just felt amazing. And I just felt like, man, if somehow we could replace all of the like pills the doctors tried to give me when I was going through my depression and all that shit, like the deepest I've ever been in that, and as an adult. Well, this might have been able to solve it. Like it was like to that point where I was like, I had no desires to do it again. Like in the moment, I still don't have it. I'll do it again maybe one day, but it's not like I'm like, oh, let me get more. Yeah. Like it was just so different, man. And I honestly like woke up the next day with like what felt like a new lease on life, like a whole new perspective, you know, and like a whole new living in an entirely new reality that was like an adaptation of what used to be, but now it's something like I'm at peace.
Yeah.
And like I'm the only times I've ever been able to gain that, through meditation. But this was as simple as just like, and I was like, and just it was like I said, I felt like I transcended this dimension and was somewhere else where like everything and anything that exists here on this plane didn't matter. Yeah. And what mattered was the exploration of my own like soul, not thought, not being, but like the soul like left and I went with it. And then like I said, when I came back, my buddy and I, we just had big smiles on our faces, and we just talked for like 30 minutes about the warmth and like the places like that you could go. And I'm like, dude, the most dangerous part about this would be like not stopping yourself from going too deep. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I did it for hours or something like that, that's when it would be like so difficult to come back to. It was amazing, man. And I'm like, this is something that exists in this world that, you know, most people, and I hate saying that, most people, because what do I know about, you know, percentages of people knowing about things? But like, most people I know have no idea about this shit. You know what I mean?
And I'm like, man, it's just, when you take psychedelics and you come back and you're like, does anyone know that this
exists? There's a real thing
to this doorway. Like heaven exists right here.
Hey, it's right now. It's up to you.
It's not this like ethereal thing that happens when you're dead. It's like heaven exists today, this afternoon. It's just a handful of mushrooms away.
It wasn't like intense, like trippiness.
It's
it
not.
Wasn't, like to me, because like when I eat, like even when I take mushrooms, sometimes like it's just like, and I haven't taken them in years, but it's like it's overwhelming. Whereas because I'm like it's like half the pants on, half the pants off, because I'm still like overly aware of my thoughts and feelings when I'm on mushrooms. When I'm on acid, it takes pretty much all that away, but I'm still here. I feel great, and I'm like feeling things and swirls and all this and that, and colors are popping, and it's amazing. But this was like, it was like those are the only things I can compare it to. But this was still like so drastically different, because it felt like I like I said, transcended my existence and left for a little while. And then I came back, and like I said, it was like all that aggression, all that anger, all this like rage inside of me just seemed to be gone. And I'm like, is it going to come back if I start like doing the same things that I was doing before? So I have to be mindful of it. I need to do more meditation. I need to get back more into yoga. And there's no reason why I can't right now. You know what I mean? Because like I'm off work, it's wide open. So I've just got to figure out how strict I'll be about sticking to that plan, you know?
Yeah.
But it's something crazy. I was going to
say, man. That's like the peace I've felt with meditation, the few times it's truly gone into a different place. Yeah, it's not like psychedelics. It's like, because those are intense. They have like their own baggage with them. It's like things are shaking and moving and like it's fun, but like with this, like the meditation bliss, it's very, it's pure. That's a perfect word for it. Is you literally just, it's like perfectly like filtered wall. Or it's like a blank canvas. You're just like, you're literally, when you're there and you literally, it's just like, you feel like you could hear a pin drop on the other side of the planet. It's just like echoes of eternity, and you're just it's not happiness. That's the thing. Is there's not happy and sad. There's not good and bad. It's literally just
it just is, peace. And that's what I always mean.
That's what it's just pure reality, and you're just like, and you look at life, and whenever I get into that spot, what life feels like is I was playing a really intense video game, and then I hit pause and I like went into the kitchen or whatever, and I literally just left that reality. It's on the TV. I just walked away from it. That's what it feels like. You're like, literally, like you hit pause on life. You're like, okay, I understand. I'm playing human on Earth. Pause, and you're like, let me go into this room of bliss. And it's just like human on Earth is like a game you're playing. That you're like, I'm gonna hit resume after this, but you're like it's over. And you're like, oh. Okay. Yeah, man. It's
something else, but like this in particular, like I say, I mean, I've been tripping on the psychedelics for years. This was so different, man. And like I said, the only time I've ever felt this in meditation was very similar, though, in terms of like, I had some I think I had some soft music going, or I could have just been sitting in a room with nothing. And I had my eyes closed, and I wrote it all down in my meditation journal after. And I explained it to my friend like this. It was like once I cleared my mind, it was like absolute nothingness. It was like nothingness. And then all of a sudden, in the meditation, I began like, it's not hallucination because it's in your mind, but I began like having different things pop into my head that had no rhyme or reason in terms of like where they were coming from or why I would be thinking about them. Like one was shape, another was an item, but the colors were not what they are in our typical life, like of when we view these things. And after that meditation and feeling that way of seeing these like shapes, colors, and all this just from nothingness, it was like almost like it's enlightening. It's almost like it made me reflect on what is important and like what I have access to just right here within me, as opposed to what for so many years I've strived to become or strived to gain that would hold no true value in this place. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't have to look at myself in this reality and be so strict or be so like hard on myself or crazy about, because as you said, like it's like a video game. This is only like one facet of existence, and like we're all scared of dying and this and that. But like death is merely like, it's like a trampoline that'll bounce you to
somewhere else. It's just
something else, something different, man. And I don't know for sure, but like in my current state, I'd like to choose to believe like that. I have everything I could ever need and ask for in this life right now, and if it gets any better, then I'm a very blessed person. You know what I mean? And if shit hits the fan and gets bad, well, then that's the hand you're dealt. That's what happens. And then perhaps like through all the bad stuff, which is extremely difficult to view this way when you're going through it, but it also is a trampoline. It's getting you somewhere else.
It's the good and the bad. It's always bringing you somewhere. Just be open to it.
Be open to it. Be open to others. Realize like it's like Ram Dass in one of the songs basically just like he was told like love everybody. Yeah. And initially he's like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Like
love everyone, tell the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's like a constant state of just, you know, like I said, me versus me. But at the same time now, like with as much self-love as I have, and I can use that to help defend my soul when I'm reflecting, to not be so like hard on myself, because my ego I allow my ego to do something or get the best of me. Well, then still love myself, still keep moving forward, still learning from everything you can, and hoping that now, as I'm prepared to become a parent in this fucking crazy time, it's like hopefully be able to utilize that to help this child gain that ability much sooner. Dude, it might not be my place or my role, but as a parent, I'm like, yes, that's what I'm here to do, is to like help this kid, no matter what it is that I need to help them with. But at the same time, it might be something that happens to that person, that child, in their life much later on that triggers it for them, you know, as it has for me. And I'm 31, I'll be 32 this year. So, it's just like, what happens, you know, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. Don't freak out. Like, especially if it's financial and stuff like that, it's easy to, because it's hard. We live in this capitalistic society, which I'd still choose every day of my life over any kind of form of socialism or communism. But at the same time, like, just ebbs and flows, man. Go with it.
Yeah.
Be the best. Do the best you can. Hold yourself to a high standard, but also don't beat yourself up. Don't kill yourself if you can't live up to that at every moment. Man, this is going to sound crazy, and I don't mean to be super critical of them. We had 2 conferences going on last Wednesday. One was PGA Marketing Forum. That's where I was. But then some of my coworkers were in the Fellowship of Christian Athletes conference. And the guy basically said that, like, what God expects of you is perfection. And this and that. He was like beating this into these kids, these like young kids. And I'm like, the same way Catholicism and the way I was taught it, like, kind of fucked me up. Yeah. I feel like I worry for kids being told things like that, because it's like, we're people, we're going to make mistakes. You're going to have impure thoughts. You're going to have all these things. But if this person's telling you that if you have an impure thought, you're not perfect, you can't gain perfection, and perfection is the only way to be, well, then what you're setting, in my opinion, these kids up for is feeling less than all the time. Feeling less than what they truly are, which is perfect with just the way they are. Like, don't get me wrong, because I am the first person to make the argument that what the fuck have we done in society with all this plus size bullshit in terms of like obesity, because it's just unhealthy. Mm-hmm. I mean, yes, there are people who are just naturally bigger, and it's like that's their healthy weight. But at the same time, we've gotten to a point where we're like, we want people to feel happy and okay with who they are, even if it's unhealthy. And to me, that's where it's like you have to draw the line. Like, and the funniest one I heard was, like, I saw an article that said overweight or plus size women are not attracted to overweight men. Yeah. And I was like, what? Like, how does that work? Like, are they both overweight? Yeah. Like, why is one plus size and one's overweight? Like, that's it. That's what we're doing in society now, though. And we did it in order to course correct for, like, you know, the hero always being a man, a white man, handsome, muscular, this and that. The hero's this and that, and can't be that. And it's like, so now we're trying to course correct, you know, make girls feel like, you know, they have the power too to do anything, this and that. And it's like, but just as we've done with this, like, people being offended and sensitivity and feelings are more important thing, like, are we going too far? Yeah. Are we course correcting too far and now going off another deep end, off a rail, like into a place that it's like you're going to get reactions to that? So the ultimate reaction to me from all this course correcting is, like, you know, hardcore either alt-right or Antifa. You know what I mean? You get these groups of people, opposite sides of what they believe, but they're like the exact same fucking people. And, you know, one wears masks and the other wears ties. It doesn't matter. And they fuck people up and act crazy and supposedly represent huge chunks of society, when in actuality it's like, no, they're just the loud ass minority. But, you know, the other side now uses that as fuel to hate even more, you know, and the most real fucking thing ever taught from Star Wars was, like, hate leads to anger, anger leads to whatever, and then that leads to the dark side. You know what I mean? And jealousy and all this stuff. And it's just a matter of how do you manage it internally. And for me, it was just a crazy experience to be able to kind of hit reset on all of that, because I'd felt some of that recently, you know, and But it does suck to come back to a reality where, like, you know, where there's all this nonsense, in my opinion, going on, where people at such like a face value or face level are like making choices and have their opinions and express themselves. And you know, it doesn't truly benefit anybody but them and their ego, which is ultimately the real enemy of all mankind, is like our egos. Like, you know, it's like, because that's who we think we should be, but the soul is who we really are. So what are you willing to do to become the person you think you should be? To some people, that's step over everyone, never lend a helping hand. But to me, in order to be who I am, will always be to try to help people, even if sometimes it's at my cost, which is not a good thing, because you shouldn't make yourself suffer necessarily at the expense of others. But it really depends on what that expense is. If it's to make people laugh, I find value in that. If it's to make them smile, same thing. But, you know, what are we really gaining? You know, or what are they gaining? And sometimes people will treat you like shit if you expose that side of yourself. I mean, I've had that happen to me so many times, man.
That does happen. Dude, I'm gonna have to end this. My ear is fucking killing me. I don't know why it's hurt. I'm sorry.
I'm trying to think of like remedies for it, but I've never had like an actual earache.
My mom's a nurse.
You couldn't have possibly done anything to damage your eardrum, right?
Not that I know of.
Because I'll tell you what, here's a funny, gross ending to this whole thing. I went to Hawaii a few years ago, 2016. I was supposed to go to Italy. Wish I could have just gone to Italy by myself. I kind of made a decision out of fear to go to Hawaii, because I knew if I go to Italy by myself, I've got to learn a lot of Italian real quick, and I got to be comfortable with like making my own schedule, making my own plans, driving all over the place. So I went to Hawaii instead because I knew I'd party. I was on a helicopter tour. My friend arranged for me through Wyndham Hotels. I went like this. I had the headset on. Went like this because my ear itched while we were in the air, 1,000 feet. Doing that allowed air pressure to seep in through my headset into my ear, and my eardrum exploded.
Holy
like in the middle of so for like 4 days straight, what I was hearing on this side was completely different from this side. I go to a doctor finally, he's like, yeah, your eardrums burst, man. You're gonna have to like put these drops in, you're gonna have to do this, you're gonna have to do that. And it's fine now, my hearing's okay. But the gross part of it is, now when I get sick, and this was happening to me when I had it, if I blow my nose really hard, mucus comes out of my eyes.
Jesus.
Because I fucked my like receptacles or whatever it is that connects from your ear to your sinuses and shit like that. So it's just a nasty fucking thing. But if you just have an earache, rest. You know, that's probably all. That's what everybody needs to do right now, man.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you letting me just like go at it with you today, even though you're feeling
fuck yeah. No, dude. I thank you for coming on, man. I love having you on, because it's
felt
just
like it was a good flow.
It's a fucking free for all. That's why I love it. That's why I love having.
It's like a lot of chaos, but it's almost like as if like it's chaos with a purpose to like inform and educate each other and learn as much as we can while we chat.
That's what, like I said, that's why I love having you on. I love having people on and we talk about a specific thing, and I love having you on because I'm just like, let's fucking spin the wheel, throw the darts, like let's see where this motherfucker goes today.
Man. It's just, and it's always funny because I think I'll always like reflect on this, that like I still have memories of like going to your guys' house a few times, you know, in Sugarloaf, and like playing basketball outside, running around the inside, like you know, so there's those like crazy good memories, like, you know, and the funniest thing was after the last time we talked, your mom reached out to me on Instagram of all places, just to be like, hey, congratulations, I heard you're going to be a dad. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's so nice. That was like, on top of like all the positives that came away from us just being able to reconnect and chat about all these things, it was nice to hear from your mom, man. Your mom was always so nice, dude. Like, going to all our basketball games, she was like the biggest fan of everybody's. Like, she like, I know for a fact, your mom, there were like other parents who I think would like get upset because your mom was such an avid supporter of all of us.
My mom's an angel.
Which was like unforgivable and like eternally grateful for. And it's like all these other people getting upset because this person doesn't give a shit what anybody thinks and is gonna cheer from the top. I'm like, that's what being a good parent or good, like, you know,
my mom doesn't give a fuck.
Like she's cheering on the next group.
Whistling and shit, screaming,
She was intense, man, and she's just such a nice person. And I like
that's
her.
How she is with my podcast. That's how she is with my podcast. Yeah, that's why. That's why I fucking love.
But it was so nice of her to do that, and like, you know, like I said, give my love to your family, man.
Of course, dude. Yeah, let's definitely schedule another one. Let's not do such big gaps in between.
Dude. No kidding. I'm all about it, man. I got all this free time, dude.
Fuck yeah. Well, we're quarantined, man, so we got all the time in the world.
Yeah. So, I mean, who knows how long this thing lasts, but, stay vigilant, and you see somebody cough, make sure you tell the Gestapo. So
Man. Write down their license plate. Make sure you kill them. Yeah.
A tweet I saw where it was like, North Korea has the best coronavirus control possible, and it was like 10:01 a.m. one person has it. 10:03 a.m. 0 people have it.
Yeah.
10:05 a.m. one person has it. 10:07 no. It's like, dude, we're so lucky to live here, and like, people are freaking out because of what's happening in Italy. And don't get me wrong, it's terrible. I don't mean to make light of all this shit, dude. But like H1N1, if you do the research and look at it, it didn't spread as fast, but it killed people at a higher rate. It was only 11 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into why I think the media is making this one so much crazier than that. But like, okay, it's awful. It's awful. I think something like 32,000 people in Italy are infected by, 32,000 people in Italy are infected by it. 2,100 have died.
Yeah.
There's 60 million people in that fucking country, dude.
Yeah.
Like, if you really do the math, like, it's terrible and it's moving rapidly, but this has been going on there for the last 2 weeks. And damn, that's a big ass bird. Only 2,000 people have died. Like, I know, only. That's terrible of me to say.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying. And on top of that, the people who are dying are 70 plus with prior conditions.
Yeah.
Like, and this is something I want to talk about. We didn't really get to, but it's like 70 plus with prior conditions. There's been a virus or plague every year for the last 300 years. Look it up. 1820, 1920, and 2020. To me, man, to end all this, like, and this is going to sound like a real asshole thing to say maybe, this is the Earth, dude. The Earth is, if this wasn't Chinese people in a lab making something to kill off undesirables on purpose, old, poor people who don't have health care, which I totally could see the Chinese government doing, then this is just the Earth reacting. Yeah. It's an organism. It's a living organism. It's killing off its weak bacteria that doesn't belong here. Us, the fucking people who are fucking weak and old. And you know what? If it was kids under the age of 10 who were most in danger, then I'd be freaking out too and panicking. If it was the youth, it was the healthiest stuff was all dying from the shit, then I'd be freaking out. But since it's 70 plus old people, I'll quarantine myself. I'll stay home. But like you said, I'm a gamer. I was made for this.
Yeah.
I feel bad. I think the youngest person I've seen die from it is 21. Dude literally had leukemia. I'm like, his immune system was fucked, It's a shitty situation, and we'll check back in with each other like 2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
Let me know what you got to be.
Yeah, sorry, I've got to go take some Tylenol or something. It hurts.
I hate that. I could talk forever, but I hate seeing you like this.
All right, brother.
Hey, man, have a great day. Take care of that earache, dude. And like I said, say it to everybody.
Godspeed. I'll text you, all right?
Yeah, bro. Take care, man.
Peace.